Chapter 1799. Gu Yan, what do you mean? Do you think I'm no match for this guy? Shi Rong knitted his brows with unhappiness on his face. His cultivation is in the middle phase heavenly sovereign realm, while my cultivation is in the initial phase saint realm. If I can't kill him in 3 moves, then I would have lived my life in vain. That's not what I meant. I just wanted to say. Gu Yan shook his head to show that he wasn't looking down on Shi Rong. Shi Rong didn't listen to Gu Yan's explanation at all. He waved his hand and said in a deep voice, "You guys take a few steps back. I want to exchange pointers with this guy. I want him to know that there is always someone better out there. Spar is fine, but you must use your full strength." Gu Yan knew that he couldn't dissuade Shi Rong, so he lowered his voice. "Also, don't kill Ningyu if you can. Keep him alive. I still need him for the time being." As he spoke, Gu Yan glanced at Ziyun from the corner of his eyes. Ziyun was a late phase saint, so her combat strength wasn't weak at all. Although Gu Yan was confident that he could defeat Ziyun, there was nothing he could do if Ziyun wanted to escape. Gu Yan was a pellet puppet, a combination of Yuan Qi pellet and soul pellet. His identity was bound to be sensitive. It didn't matter if Ziyun left, but if Ziyun spread the news that he was in Four Corner City, then he'd be doomed. After all, a pellet puppet was a good thing for human cultivators. "I'm not a 3-year-old kid. I'm clear about this." Shi Rong's tone seemed to be extremely impatient. He turned around to look at Ningyu and said indifferently, "The agreement of 3 moves can begin now. All of you, step back." Ningyu didn't answer Shi Rong immediately. Instead, he said to Tianji Oldman and Yun Mu, "Without my permission, no one is allowed to come near here." "Russell." Tianji Oldman and the rest didn't hesitate and immediately retreated. Aside from Tianji Oldman and Yun Mu, even Ziyun couldn't help taking a few steps back. "Take this." Seeing that Ningyu didn't answer him, Shi Rong's face turned cold and he instantly dashed out. Chi. 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 Shi Rong's speed was too fast, causing friction with the air. Wait. Seeing that Shi Rong was about to arrive before him, Ningyu revealed a mocking expression and said in disdain, "An initial phase saint pellet puppet like you wants to spar with a middle phase heavenly sovereign like me, and you dare to go back on your words?" Whoosh. Shi Rong instantly stopped when he heard Ningyu's mocking words. He clenched his fists tightly and said coldly, "When did I go back on my word? I seem to remember a certain Danzhong saying that he would give me 2 moves. Ningyu said exaggeratedly, "Don't tell me you know you're no match for me and want to renege on your promise." "Humph. So what if I let you make 2 moves first?" Shi Rong's chest heaved up and down, and he said with a cold snort, "I'll stand where I am right now and not move. I'll take 2 moves from you." Shi Rong appeared to be very angry. Actually, it wasn't surprising. He was an initial phase Saint Realm Danqi, so how could he live after being ridiculed by a middle phase heavenly sovereign? Even if it was for his face, Shi Rong had to fulfill his promise and let Ningyu take 2 moves first. Ningyu's plan seemed to have succeeded as an arc rose on the corner of his lips. In the next moment, Ningyu suddenly stomped his feet on the ground and charged out like an afterimage. Ningyu's speed wasn't very fast. At the very least, he was much slower than Shi Rong. "Overestimating yourself." Looking at the approaching Ningyu, Shi Rong sneered. "I will let you know what is called, however." Before Ningyu could reach Shi Rong, before Shi Rong could finish his sneer, there was a sudden change. Gu Yan pushed Ningyu away and leaped out. In almost an instant, Gu Yan appeared in front of Ningyu, and his fist carried a violent Yuan Qi gale as it fiercely smashed towards Ningyu's chest. "Gu Yan, what are you doing?" Seeing Gu Yan suddenly attack Ningyu with all his strength, Shi Rong was very angry. To be honest, Shi Rong was very angry that Gu Yan attacked Ningyu. Previously, Gu Yan didn't allow him to fight with Ningyu. Now, he even wanted to get involved. Did he really think that he wasn't a match for Ningyu? "I will explain to you later. Stay where you are and don't go anywhere." Although Gu Yan's words were directed at Shi Rong, he didn't slow down at all. Instead, he sped up. "You'd better give me a reasonable explanation." Shi Rong was so angry that his nose was crooked. The more anxious Gu Yan was, the more he looked down on him. Shi Rong had a very big characteristic. The more others looked down on him, the more he wanted to prove himself. In this case, the best way was to control Ningyu, whose cultivation was higher than Ningyu's. Therefore, Shi Rong slowly moved toward Ningyu's side. "Ningyu, I already knew you had a problem. Show me your trump card, or you won't have a chance." Although it seemed that Gu Yan had an absolute advantage. However, even a lion would use all its strength to catch a rabbit, not to mention a mysterious person like Ningyu. "As you wish." Looking at Gu Yan, who was only a few feet away from him, Ningyu's mouth curled up into a smile again. Then, he tore open the void and entered it. "Humph! You still want to escape in front of me? I think you have lost your mind." Upon seeing Ningyu disappear into thin air, Gu Yan coldly snorted. Then, he viciously threw a punch in the direction Ningyu had disappeared. Rumble! The next moment, an earth-shattering sound rang out. The space in the entire area became restless. Crack! Crack! The sound of the space breaking kept ringing out. "It's over." Far away, Yunmu's mouth was wide open and his face was filled with disappointment. In Yunmu's opinion, Ningyu would definitely die. Even Ziyun might not be able to withstand Gu Yan's all-out attack, not to mention Ningyu. Let's wait and see. Although Tianji Laoren's face was grave, he still had a trace of hope. Because Tianji Laoren knew that Ningyu would never do something he wasn't confident in. Tianji Laoren believed that Ningyu definitely had a backup plan. "In my opinion, we'd better leave as soon as possible while that Dan Yen isn't paying attention to us." At this moment, Yunmu even had the thought of leaving. Although the current situation wasn't very clear, it wasn't much different. Unless that Qilin on Ningyu. That's right, Qilin. Thinking of this, Yunmu's heart was filled with hope again. Don't think too much. The Qilin on Ningyu's body is only at the initial sage realm. Tianji Laoren seemed to have guessed Yunmu's thoughts. He shook his head and said, "An initial sage realm Qilin can only withstand one attack from Gu Yan. It definitely won't be able to withstand the second attack." Pucci. As if to prove Tianji Laoren's words, the aftermath of the explosion in the distance suddenly dissipated. A Qilin stood where Ningyu had been, and there was even a drop of blood hanging from the corner of its mouth. Chapter 1800. Elder Tianji, since Qilin isn't Gu Yan's match, why don't we leave? Yunmu couldn't understand. Qilin wasn't Gu Yan's match, and Ningyu was only an intermediate heavenly supreme. Under such circumstances, staying here was no different from sending them to their deaths. "I have to tell you the truth." Elder Tianji took a deep breath and explained, "With our current strength, we can't leave." This, Yunmu was slightly stunned by Elder Tianji's explanation, but he immediately understood. It wasn't that Elder Tianji didn't want to leave, but that he couldn't. Gu Yan was a late saint, and his combat strength was extremely terrifying. Unless someone completely stopped him, no one would be able to leave. "I knew you had a trump card, but I didn't expect it to be Qilin." Gu Yan looked at Ningyu with a slightly relieved expression and said, "Fortunately, this Qilin is only at the early stage of the Sage Realm. If he was at the middle stage of the Sage Realm, I really wouldn't be his match." "You think you can defeat me?" The little Qilin licked the blood at the corner of its mouth and said in a deep voice, "Dan Qi is a Dan Qi. Even if you're a late saint, you still have a fatal weakness." "That's right. Dan Qi does have a fatal weakness, but with your current strength, you can't defeat me even if you know my weakness." Gu Yan curled his lips and revealed a disdainful expression. "The ignorant are fearless." At this moment, Ningyu, who was on the little Qilin's back, spoke. The corner of Ningyu's mouth rose and he smiled sinisterly. "If you're not convinced, you can continue to attack." "Does he still have a trump card?" Gu Yen secretly became cautious. Without absolute confidence, Gu Yen wouldn't continue to attack. His punch was blocked by the qilin on Ning Yu's back. Who knew if a stronger demonic beast would come out to block the next attack for Ning Yu? For safety's sake, Gu Yen decided to wait and see. He would use Ning Lu to threaten Ning Yu. Thinking of this, Gu Yen leaped up and quickly flew in the direction of Ning Lu. Swish! However, Gu Yen suddenly stopped after flying for a short while. Ka ka ka! Gu Yen clenched his fists tightly as he stared at the two figures not far away. You really infuriate me. Due to his anger, the veins on Gu Yan's body bulged. He was on the verge of exploding. The reason why Gu Yan would be so angry was because Shi Rong didn't listen to his advice and attacked Ning Lu without permission. It's fine that you made a move, but in the end, you actually failed to subdue Ning Lu and were subdued by Ning Yu. Impede. Now, Shi Rong had completely become a hindrance to Gu Yan. As long as Gu Yan dared to attack Ning Yu and Little Kailan, then Ning Lu would definitely attack Shi Rong. You win. Gu Yan knew that since things had come to this, it was unrealistic for him to solve it by force. The only thing he could do now was to sacrifice some benefits and rescue Shi Rong. I can let you go, but the condition is that you have to get that child to release Shi Rong. Taking a deep breath, Gu Yan said to Ning Yu, From now on, we will mind our own business. Do you think I'm an idiot? Ning Yu pointed at his own nose and said, It's not impossible for me to release Shi Rong, but you have to mine the immortal crystal mine for me and exchange it for Shi Rong. Don't go too far. Gu Yan had never been bullied like this before. His chest heaved up and down, and he said angrily, If you push me too far, none of you will leave today. As soon as Gu Yan's voice fell, a scream like that of a pig being slaughtered came from afar. Without a doubt, the scream came from the early stage sage Shi Rong. Ning Lu suddenly slapped Shi Rong's back with his right hand. At the same time, a dark golden branch quietly entered Shi Rong's body and madly absorbed the energy in Shi Rong's body. The energy in Shi Rong's body entered Ning Lu's body through the dark golden branch. As the energy continued to increase, Ning Lu's strength was slowly increasing. If I can devour him completely, I can even advance to the peak of Sky Supreme. Ning Lu showed a satisfied expression. He first swallowed 2 elixirs and raised his cultivation from the middle stage Sky Supreme to the late stage Sky Supreme. Now he caught the early stage sage Shi Rong. If he could devour Shi Rong, he would have a high chance of advancing to the peak of Sky Supreme. Ning Lu, a late stage Sky Supreme, could use the advantage of the World Tree to defeat Dan Ming, an early stage sage. One could imagine. Once he advanced to the peak of Sky Supreme, then he could use the advantage of the World Tree to defeat Dan Ming, an early stage sage. A virtuous cycle. This was a virtuous cycle that could continue to develop. Change the conditions. Gu Yan's face was so gloomy that he wanted to kill someone. A cold voice came from his mouth. As long as it's not the immortal crystal mine, everything else is negotiable. In fact, it wasn't that Gu Yan didn't want to mine the immortal crystal mine. It was that it took time to mine the immortal crystal mine. In the distance, Ning Lu was devouring Shi Rong. With every minute he wasted, Shi Rong would be in more danger. Gu Yan wanted to save Shi Rong, but he also wanted to preserve Shi Rong's fighting strength. This is troublesome. Ning Yu rested his chin on his hands and looked like he was thinking. After a while, Ning Yu said, As a late-stage sage Dan Ming, you must have a lot of pure energy and pure soul power. How about this, as long as you take out pure energy and pure soul power to help Little Kailan advance to the middle stage sage, let my soul power increase to the ninth stage. At the peak, I will ask Ning Lu to release Shi Rong. You. Hearing Ning Yu's conditions, Gu Yan almost died of anger. Ning Yu's soul power was at the early stage sage. It was not particularly difficult for him to take out pure soul power to help him increase his soul power to the peak of 9th stage. What was difficult was to help that Kylan advance to the middle stage sage. Not to mention how much energy it would take to help an early stage Kylan advance to the middle stage sage. Even if he could help Kylan advance to the middle stage sage, the next step would not be easy. Because Gu Yen did not have absolute confidence that he could defeat a middle stage sage. Besides, there was still a late stage sage warrior eyeing him covetously. Moreover, in front of the city lord's mansion of Four Corner City, there were 2 late-stage sage warriors fighting fiercely. It was better to be safe than sorry. If so many people joined forces, wouldn't he be dead meat? Let me change my conditions. Gu Yen resisted the urge to explode and said, I can give you enlightenment and let your cultivation increase from the middle stage Sky Supreme to the peak Sky Supreme. No way. Ningyu waved his hand and said loudly, I have given you 2 choices. Don't push your luck. Chapter 1801. Crack, crack, crack. Due to his anger, Gu Yan's bones made cracking sounds. Ever since he had descended to the celestial spirit realm, Gu Yan had never been so angry. He had hidden at the entrance of the celestial crystal vein with the intention of using his powerful strength to kill and devour all those who wanted a share of the loot. Originally, the plan was very successful. He had also successfully killed 2 late-stage sage warriors and devoured them both, increasing his strength a little. However, because of Shi Rong's stupidity, everything had turned around. Now, he was a fish on the chopping block, while others were on the chopping block. Ah! Just as Gu Yen was pondering this, Shi Rong let out another hysterical roar in the distance. In just a minute, Shi Rong's aura was already on the verge of Sage and Sky Supreme. At this rate, Shi Rong's cultivation would drop to peak Sky Supreme in at most a minute. Okay, I'm willing to give you energy and soul power. Gu Yen gritted his teeth and said helplessly, but you have to make that kid stop devouring Shi Rong. Sorry, I choose to refuse. Ningyu shrugged, not planning to give Gu Yen any face. Stop devouring? What a joke. For a late-stage sage elixir puppet like Gu Yen, he could not give him any chance. Otherwise, if he approached Ning Lu quickly and subdued him, all his previous efforts would be in vain. Therefore, the best solution was for Ning Lu to continue devouring Shi Rong and force Gu Yen not to act rashly. Here you go. Gu Yen wanted to kill Ningyu immediately, but he knew that he could only choose to hand over the pure energy and soul power. Swoosh! Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Gu Yen flicked his wrist and 2 rays of cold light flew towards Ningyu and the little Kylan. Stop! Ningyu was not stupid enough to catch the pure energy and soul power directly. He pushed out his right hand and forced the 2 beams of cold light to stop in midair. Is there a problem? After forcing the cold light to stop, Ningyu turned to little Kylan and asked, Can this energy help you advance to the mid-stage sage? Ningyu was concerned about 2 things. Was it safe? Could the energy allow little Kylan to advance to the middle stage of the Saint Realm? Safety was of utmost importance. If it wasn't safe, what was the point of having more energy? So, as long as little Kylan said that the energy wasn't safe, Ningyu would definitely retreat without a second thought. No problem. After observing for a while, the little Kylan nodded and said, This energy can help me advance to the mid-stage sage realm. Whoosh! Whoosh! Hearing little Qilin's affirmative reply, Ningyu revealed a relieved expression. Since it was confirmed that there was no problem, Ningyu did not argue anymore. He threw the energy to little Kylan. As for himself, he received the pure soul force. After obtaining the pure soul power, Ningyu swallowed it without any hesitation. The soul force flowed down Ningyu's throat and circulated in Ningyu's body before entering Ningyu's consciousness. In Ningyu's consciousness, the initial 9th-grade soul force surged and crazily swallowed the pure soul power. As expected of a late-stage sage elixir puppet. As Ningyu swallowed the soul force, he thought to himself, If I can swallow Gu Yen, I wonder if my soul force can break through the limits of 9th grade and advance to the realm of a 10th grade elixir emperor. A 9th grade soul force was considered very strong in the immortal spirit realm. But Ningyu knew that as more and more experts descended from the higher planes, a 9th grade soul force was no longer enough. But Ningyu knew his limits. It was enough to raise his soul force to the peak of 9th grade today. As for the rest, there was no need to rush. Bang bang. While Ningyu was swallowing the pure soul power, on the other side, the little Qilin's body was making banging sounds. Moreover, the aura of the little Qilin was growing at a visible speed. Originally, the little Qilin's cultivation was at the peak of the early stage sage, not too far from the mid-stage sage. Now that it had so much pure energy and Ningyu had secretly given it a small piece of immortal ascension grass, its strength was improving rapidly. It can't go on like this. It won't be long before this Qilin advances to the mid-stage sage. Gu Yan had been paying attention to the changes in the little Qilin. As for Ningyu, Gu Yan didn't want to pay too much attention to him. After all, even if Ningyu's soul force increased to the peak of 9th grade, his strength wouldn't increase by much. Once the little Qilin's cultivation reached the mid-stage sage, he would be facing a huge disaster. With a thought, Gu Yan turned his attention to Ziyun. How about we make a deal? Gu Yan didn't beat around the bush. The first thing he said was to cooperate with Ziyun. If you rescue Shi Rong for me, I'll give you all the celestial crystals in the celestial crystal mineral vein. Whoosh. It had to be said that Gu Yan's words were very tempting to Ziyun. Ziyun was very tempted by the celestial crystals in the celestial crystal mineral vein. Because as Ningyu and the little Qilin's strength increased, Ziyun's uneasiness became more and more serious. She could still get 50% of the celestial crystals now. When the little Qilin advances to the mid-stage sage, would she still get 50%? If Ningyu went back on his words, she wouldn't even get 10% of the celestial crystals. But Ziyun wasn't a reckless person. Although it was dangerous to cooperate with Ningyu, she knew Ningyu better than Gu Yan. At least, she knew him better than Gu Yan. If she cooperated with Gu Yan, she might be walking into a tiger's mouth. I won't do it without benefits. Ziyun went straight to the point. Unless you give me a large amount of pure energy, or a large amount of pure spiritual force, I will not take the risk to save Shi Rong for you. I've handed the energy and soul force to Ningyu. I don't have any energy or soul force with me right now. Gu Yan shook his head. But you don't have to worry. I'll make a heavenly oath. As long as you can rescue Shi Rong, I guarantee that I'll give you a large amount of energy and soul force. Getting something without risking anything. Ziyun curled her lips and didn't speak anymore. She originally thought that Gu Yan would pay a price, but in the end, he was trying to get something without risking anything. As for the heavenly oath, Ziyun didn't believe in it. Could Dan Qi's heavenly oath be trusted? I can tell you a secret. Gu Yan clenched his teeth and said, There's a teleportation array in the celestial crystal mineral vein that can teleport us to the Pill Emperor city. Ziyun was stunned. There's a teleportation array in the celestial crystal mineral vein? And it can teleport us to the Pill Emperor city? This news made Ziyun extremely shocked. Ziyun thought more about it. Chapter 1802. As long as you rescue Shi Rong, I'll give you the celestial crystal vein and tell you how to activate the teleportation formation inside the celestial crystal vein so that you can directly reach Alchemy Emperor City. Seeing Ziyun's hesitation, Gu Yan instantly felt that there was hope. He gritted his teeth as if he had made up his mind. Apart from these, I will also give you that Qilin. You're giving Qilin to me? How? Ziyun would not easily believe Gu Yan's words. Although that Qilin was now at the early stage of the Sage Realm, who knew when it would advance to the middle stage of the Sage Realm? Once that Qilin advanced to the Sage Intermediate stage, everything would be set in stone. After all, a mid-stage Sage Qilin could easily defeat a late-stage Sage Danqi. Help me save Shirong, and I'll immediately make a move against Qilin and capture him with lightning speed. Gu Yan said slowly, think about it. You are now at the late stage of the Sage Realm. If you can control a Qilin at the early stage of the Sage Realm, will you still be afraid that I will turn against you? You've said so much, but there's nothing practical at all. You still want to gain something without risking anything. Ziyun shook her head and said, if your sincerity is only this much, then I can only apologize to you. What on earth do you want? Seeing that Ziyun didn't fall for it, Gu Yan finally couldn't endure it any longer and coldly said, I can't give you energy and soul force right now. The only sincerity I can show is to tell you that there's a teleportation array in the immortal crystal vein. Bang! At this moment, a muffled sound came from afar. Hearing this sound, Gu Yan's pupils shrank and his body couldn't help but tremble. The speed at which the little Qilin absorbed the pure energy was far beyond Gu Yan's estimation. In Gu Yan's opinion, no matter how fast the small Qilin could absorb energy, it would take 10 minutes or even half an hour for it to reach the middle stage of Sage Realm. However, after seeing the little Qilin's condition, Gu Yan knew that he was wrong. At this rate, it would take at most 5 minutes for the little Qilin to break through its limit and advance to the middle stage of the Saint Realm. I can promise you 3 things unconditionally. In desperation, Gu Yan had to compromise. It could be seen that Gu Yan valued Shirong very much. He would never allow Shirong to make any mistakes. Promise me 3 things unconditionally? Hearing Gu Yan's words, Ziyun was stunned. Ziyun thought that Gu Yan would take a step back, but she never imagined that Gu Yan would make such a huge concession. By agreeing to 3 things unconditionally, Gu Yan basically put his life in her hands. Would Gu Yan be so stupid? The answer was obviously no. I can open my mind and let you leave a trace of your soul power in my sea of consciousness. While Gu Yan was paying attention to the little Qilin's aura, he said to Ziyun, as long as you leave your soul force in my sea of consciousness, won't I be at your mercy? All right, I'll pretend to attack you first, and then leave my soul force in your sea of consciousness. Ziyun seemed to have made up her mind as she heavily nodded her head. Shortly after, her figure flashed as she charged towards Gu Yan. In order to not arouse the suspicions of Ning Yu and the old man of heavenly secrets, Ziyun shouted as they advanced. Gu Yan, how dare you sneak attack me? Walla! Ziyun's words immediately attracted the attention of Old Prophet and the rest. Apart from Tianji Lauren, Yun Mu, and the others, even Ning Lu was slightly attracted. Rumble! As the saying goes, if you want to put on a show, you must go all the way. Ziyun waved her hands continuously and displayed her trump card. At this moment, the battle strength that Ziyun displayed was comparable to that of a late-stage sage martial artist. Ziyun's strength is actually so powerful? Not far away, Ning Lu's face turned solemn as he murmured, in terms of pure battle strength, Anhaoping is not a match for Ziyun. In this delicate situation, if she attacks Gu Yan, it might be no. However, before Ning Lu could finish his murmur, his expression changed greatly. He thought of a possibility, an extremely terrifying possibility. Ziyun might have reached some kind of agreement with Gu Yan. The more Ning Lu thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. However, Ning Lu could only be anxious at this moment, because no matter how he tried to contact Ning Yu, he couldn't get in touch with him. Ning Yu was in an ethereal state as he was devouring the pure soul power. At this moment, unless Ning Yu broke through his limit and completed the transformation of his soul power, Ning Lu would definitely not be able to contact him. Since he couldn't get in touch with Ning Yu, Ning Lu changed his strategy and tried to contact the little Qilin. However, the result was not satisfactory. The little Qilin's condition was not much different from that of Ning Yu. It could be seen that the little Qilin had made a lot of preparations in order to break through to the intermediate stage Sage Realm. Ning Lu didn't look very good as he couldn't get in touch with Ning Yu or the little Kylan. If his guess was correct, the consequences would be unimaginable. And Haoping? Oh right. Contact An Haoping and ask him to come here. Ning Lu had no choice but to try to get in touch with An Haoping, who was fighting with Jin Fei. If An Haoping came, Jin Fei would also come. However, Ning Lu had no other choice in the current situation. It was better to be safe than sorry. If Ziyun really joined forces with Gu Yan, then they would all die here today. Ning Lu was still very anxious even though he had contacted An Haoping. If they dare to join forces, I will be the first to kill Shi Rong. Ning Lu turned his head to look at Shi Rong, who was being devoured by him. He increased the devouring power again and devoured Shi Rong even more crazily. Puff! Shi Rong, who was originally in a weakened state, naturally couldn't face such a powerful devouring power. Fresh blood spurted out from Shi Rong's mouth. His face turned deathly pale, without any color. Go in. Everything that happened here naturally fell into Gu Yan's eyes. However, Gu Yan could only pretend that he didn't see it because he was in the middle of a transaction with Ziyun. He opened up his mind and let Ziyun's soul force enter his sea of consciousness. Relatively speaking, this was the most important thing. There couldn't be any slightest mistake. All of you go over. Gu Yan looked very calm on the surface, but in reality, he was extremely nervous in his heart. He mobilized all the soul force in his body and hid it all around his sea of consciousness. As long as Ziyun's soul force entered his sea of consciousness, he would mobilize his own soul force and prepare to give Ziyun a ruthless blow. Of course, Gu Yan wouldn't be so foolish to make a move now. At the very least, he had to wait until Ziyun rescued Shi Rong. At that time, he would execute a secret technique and use the soul force that Ziyun left in his mind to control Ziyun and force Ziyun to hand over Shi Rong. The technique that Gu Yan grasped was actually not much different from the one that Ningyu grasped. Ningyu grasped the soul attraction technique. He could use soul force to attack a martial artist's body from a distance. However, the soul attraction technique had a lot of restrictions. There were many things that needed to be prepared. Chapter 1803. Huff. After injecting her soul force into Gu Yan's sea of consciousness, Ziyun couldn't help letting out a long breath. Originally, Ziyun thought that Gu Yan wouldn't let her leave her soul force in his sea of consciousness so easily and that it would definitely take some time. However, Gu Yan's reaction was out of her expectations. No matter what, she had Gu Yan's weakness in her hands. Even if Gu Yan was prepared, he was still bound to be restricted by her. Rumble. Start from the beginning. While Gu Yan and Ziyun were discussing, they were still attacking with all their might. On the surface, their attacks seemed to be very powerful and powerful. Even Tianji Laoren and Yun Mu were fooled and thought that Ziyun had changed. Boom. At that critical moment, Gu Yan grabbed onto a flaw in Ziyun's defense and abruptly threw out a punch. His punch landed right on Ziyun's back. A huge force came from her back, causing Ziyun to stagger and fly into the distance. Without a doubt, the direction where Ziyun flew out was where Ning Lu and Shi Rong were. Shit! Not far away, Tianji Laoren's face changed when he saw the direction where Ziyun flew out. He felt that something was wrong. What's going on? Yun Mu was still frowning. He didn't find anything wrong. Ziyun might have joined hands with Gu Yan. We have to get Ning Lu to move as soon as possible. Tianji Laoren's face was extremely grave as he coldly said, "Stay where you are and don't move. I'll think of a way to stop Ziyun." Are you sure you're not joking? Hearing Tianji Laoren's words and seeing the determination on Tianji Laoren's face, Yun Mu's mouth was slightly opened and his face was filled with confusion. Let's not talk about whether they joined hands or not. Even if they did, you wouldn't be able to help. Fool. I already said that I'm going to think of a way and not take the initiative to attack Ziyun. Tianji Laoren fiercely stared at Yun Mu, then his figure flashed and flew in another direction. Initially, Yun Mu was a little puzzled when he saw Tianji Laoren's actions. He didn't know why Tianji Laoren was going in the opposite direction from Xiun. But soon, Yun Mu understood Tianji Laoren's thoughts. If Xiun really joined forces with Gu Yan, then her original intention must be for the immortal crystals in the immortal crystal vein. If old man Tianji could take action and gain control of the immortal crystal vein, Xiun would definitely not dare to make a move against Ning Lu. You don't have to blindly participate in this. There was always a gap between ideals and reality, and this chasm was something that the Elder of Heavenly Secrets could not bridge. At the very least, with his current strength, he could not bridge it. Now that they had shed all pretenses of cordiality and confirmed that the little Kylan and Ning Yu were at the critical stage of their breakthrough, Gu Yan could show his foxtail without any scruples. Gu Yan flicked his sleeves and a cold light flew out, flinging Tianji Laoren back. Meanwhile, Gu Yan shifted his gaze to Ning Lu and Shi Rong. A cold expression appeared on his face. Fortunately, there's an idiot who's willing to help. Gu Yan felt lucky. If he made a move himself, Ning Lu would definitely not say a word and directly kill Shi Rong. Xiun was different. If Xiun made a move, Ning Lu wouldn't kill Shi Rong with lightning speed. As long as Shi Rong was fine, he could slowly deal with Xiun and the rest. Naturally, Gu Yan had his own plans. He could put Xiun aside for now. Most importantly, he had to capture the little Kylan and Ning Yu. Comparatively speaking, Ning Yu and the little Kylan were the biggest variables, and they were the ones that Gu Yan was worried about. No matter how strong Xiun was, she wouldn't be able to escape from his palm. Do you really want to do this? Looking at Xiun, who was constantly approaching him, Ning Lu grabbed Shi Rong and quickly retreated. I have no other choice. Xiun's expression was indifferent. No one could tell if she was happy or angry. You have to think of the consequences. Ning Lu clenched his teeth and continued, when I'm pushed to the limit, I will immediately kill Shi Rong. Kill Shi Rong? It's best that you kill him. That way, it'll be better for everyone. The corner of Xiun's lips rose as she coldly said, I'll tell you the truth. The reason why I joined forces with Gu Yan was to let you kill Shi Rong. Why do you have to do this? Ning Lu's face was cold, so dark that it was terrifying. Ning Lu couldn't understand what benefit Xiun would get if Shi Rong was killed. Why do you have to do this? I'm afraid that you've lost your mind, right? Facing Ning Lu's question, Xiun did not directly explain. Instead, she asked, who doesn't want to monopolize the immortal crystals in the immortal crystal vein? Do you think that I want to share it with you? Don't be naive. If you kill Shi Rong, Gu Yan will fight you with his life. At that time, when two tigers fight, one will definitely be injured. I can just sit on the mountain and watch them fight. How ruthless! Ning Lu's heart skipped a beat. It was said that a woman's heart was the most vicious. However, Ning Lu was shocked that Xiun, who usually didn't speak much, could be so vicious. But being shocked was just being shocked. Ning Lu knew that he couldn't fall for Xiun's trick. Kill Shi Rong? At least, before the little Kylan reached the intermediate Saint realm, he absolutely couldn't do that. Otherwise, they would be in a situation of no return. Gu Yan, if you continue like this, don't blame me for being impolite. Although he didn't dare to kill Shi Rong, it wouldn't be a problem to use Shi Rong to threaten Gu Yan. After all, judging from Xiun's attitude, she wanted to use him to kill Shi Rong. This situation gave Ning Lu the capital to resist. Xiun, what the hell are you doing? With the distance between you and Shi Rong, you can easily save him. Ning Lu's words naturally fell into Gu Yan's ears. Gu Yan had no choice but to transmit his voice to Xiun, don't forget about our deal. Don't worry. Since I promised you, I will definitely help you save Shi Rong. Xiun rolled her eyes and transmitted her voice as well. Ning Lu's cultivation is in the late Heavenly Supreme Realm. He's extremely powerful. I'm afraid that if I act rashly, I will arouse his resentment. At that time, it won't be worth it if I kill Shi Rong. I don't care. You have to save Shirong within a minute. Gu Yen was on the verge of exploding, inviting a wolf into the house. He originally thought that Ziyun's intervention could make things simpler. Who knew that it would become more and more complicated? Now, it seemed that Ziyun wasn't a fool. Offending Ningyu now was the most unwise choice. Therefore, Ziyun decided to confront Ning Lu first. If she could force Ning Lu to kill Shirong, everything would be fine. But if Ning Lu didn't fall for it, it wouldn't be a loss to her. At worst, she could turn to Ning Yu and fight Gu Yen together with Ning Yu. Boom! While the three parties were in a deadlock, an earth-shattering explosion suddenly resounded. Hearing the explosion, everyone shifted their gazes and looked in that direction. Hiss! Chapter 1804. Boom! Along with the earth-shattering sound, a terrifying aura soared into the sky. Middle Stage Sage Realm. At this moment, the little Kylan's cultivation had reached the Middle Stage Sage Realm. If it had only reached the Middle Stage Sage Realm, Ziyun and the rest wouldn't be so shocked. What shocked them, what made them suck in a cold breath, was the aura that the little Qilin displayed. It was infinitely close to the peak of the Sage Realm. With the cultivation of Middle Stage Sage Realm, its aura was infinitely close to the peak of the Sage Realm. Such an incredible thing could only happen to an ancient divine beast. Bang! As soon as the little Kylan's aura stabilized, Ning Yu, who was next to it, poured out his soul power and formed a soul protection shield around him. Peak Grade 9. After devouring the pure soul power provided by Gu Yen, the strength of Ning Yu's soul power directly increased from initial Grade 9 to Peak Grade 9. Of course, the strength of Ning Yu's soul power had only reached the stage of liquefying qi. There was still a long way to go before he could liquefy Dan. However, it was not easy to increase the strength of his soul power to liquefy qi at this age. It was conceivable that when Ning Yu's age was the same as before his rebirth, his soul power would at least be able to break through the Dan Emperor realm, or even reach Grade 10 Pill Emperor realm. Hurry up and save Gu Yen, or I'll teach you a lesson. The improvement of Ning Yu's soul power did not make Gu Yen too anxious, but the advancement of the little Kylan to the middle stage Sage Realm made Gu Yen panic. Gu Yen knew that with his current mental state, he was definitely not a match for the little Kylan. The only thing he could do now was to let Ziyun save Shirong as soon as possible, and then he could use his secret technique to leave. Otherwise, he would definitely die here today. In order to save Shirong, Gu Yen used his secret technique to control Ziyun's soul power. Puff! Just when Gu Yen was controlling his soul power, Ziyun spurted out a mouthful of blood. Her face was filled with confusion. Ziyun knew that Gu Yen had a trump card, but she did not expect it to be so terrifying. Come back! In desperation, Ziyun continuously used her secret technique to retrieve the soul power in Gu Yan's sea of consciousness. Unfortunately, no matter how hard she tried, she could not retrieve her soul power. Puff, puff, poochie. Since she couldn't retract her soul force, Ziyun could only forcefully confront Gu Yen. However, Gu Yen held the absolute advantage. Therefore, Ziyun could only retreat step by step as she vomited blood. I'll give you one last chance. Save Shirong in 3 seconds or I'll kill you. Seeing the little Kylan, who was about to consolidate its cultivation, Gu Yen shouted immediately, "Think about what you should do." "Sorry, I don't want to do that either." The feeling of having her life in someone else's hands made Ziyun feel terrible. But under the current situation, Ziyun had no choice but to follow Gu Yan's instructions. Otherwise, after Shirong was killed, she would definitely be killed as well. Gu Yen used your soul power to control you. Ning Lu pulled Shirong behind him and lightly said to Ziyun, "I can sever the connection between you and that soul force. Is that true?" Ziyun was startled as she asked. 3. Seeing Ziyun and Ning Lu conversing, Gu Yen immediately said, 2. You can choose not to believe me, or you can take a gamble. Ning Lu shrugged his shoulders, looking indifferent. Although Ning Lu appeared to be calm, he was extremely nervous in his heart. The little Kailan was still consolidating its cultivation and was unable to kill Gu Yan in a short period of time. Under this situation, no one would help him. He could only rely on himself to think of a way. Okay, I'll bet. Ziyun was not an indecisive person. She immediately made her decision to take a gamble. 1. Just when Ziyun announced to take a gamble, Gu Yan had already counted to 1. Refusing a toast only to drink a forfeit, the furious Gu Yan detonated a portion of Ziyun's soul force in his sea of consciousness, wanting to teach Ziyun a lesson. Go! Seeing Gu Yan's action, Ning Lu flicked his sleeve and a dark golden branch appeared. The dark golden branch gradually expanded above Ziyun's head and in the end, enveloped Ziyun entirely. Crack! 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 Just when the dark golden branch enveloped Ziyun, it suffered a terrifying attack. Without a doubt, those attacks were initially targeted at Ziyun, but they were all blocked by the dark golden branch. Damn it, it won't cost me 2 dark golden branches, right? Ning Lu couldn't help cursing when he saw the dark golden branch on the verge of breaking. Every dark golden branch was extremely important to Ning Lu. The World Tree's branch was practically omnipotent. Right now, Ning Lu's cultivation was only at the late phase Heavenly Supreme Realm. If his cultivation reached the late phase Saint Realm, or even the Pinnacle Saint Realm, then his dark golden branch's effect should be comparable to the immortal Ascension Grass. Go! Although he felt helpless, Ning Lu was someone who would do what he said. No, he was a world tree that would do what he said. He once again threw out a dark golden branch, enveloping Ziyun within it. Burn all of them! Gu Yan's nose was crooked from anger. He continuously executed a secret technique, detonating all of Ziyun's soul force in his sea of consciousness. Crack! 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 The dark golden branch that was protecting Ziyun let out another cracking sound. Ning Lu was completely dumbfounded. He couldn't help but look at Ziyun with a puzzled expression. How much soul force did you leave in Gu Yan's sea of consciousness? Ning Lu felt that he should ask clearly. Otherwise, all 5 of his dark golden branches would be consumed if he dragged on like this. After all, his strength would drop by at least half after losing 5 dark golden branches. Ning Lu wasn't that stupid to let his strength drop by half for Ziyun. There's still a little left. Not much left. Ziyun bit her lips, her face full of unwillingness. A man who is never content is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. After the incident in Four Corner City, Ziyun finally understood a truth. There was always someone better than you. Some things couldn't be solved by strength alone. You also needed schemes. When she was in the Purple Sun Empire, Ziyun almost didn't care about the outside world and only focused on cultivation. Although her cultivation had reached the middle phase of the Saint Realm, she had fallen behind a lot in terms of worldly wisdom. Damn it! I'll help her to the end. Ning Lu cursed inwardly. Then, he forced out another dark golden branch and threw it at Ziyun's head. Crack! Crack! Just when Ning Lu stretched out the 3rd branch, the 1st branch couldn't hold on any longer and was shattered by the powerful attack. I don't believe it. The furious Ning Lu displayed the 4th dark golden branch. Aside from the 1st dark golden branch that had shattered, there were a total of 3 dark golden branches that shrouded Ziyun's head. The 3 dark golden branches blocked Gu Yan's attack. Damn it! Let's fight. Seeing that he couldn't hurt Ziyun, Gu Yan decided to fight. He stomped on the ground and rushed toward Ning Lu. Chapter 1805. If you dare to take another step forward, I promise to kill Shi Rong. Seeing Gu Yan rushing towards him, Ning Lu dragged Shi Rong out again and said in a cold voice, I'm a man of my words. I won't go back on my words. I don't believe that you dare to kill. If you kill Shi Rong, you have to die today too. Since he made a decision, Gu Yan absolutely would not change it. He calculated that Ning Lu did not dare to really kill Shi Rong, so he raised his speed to the limit, planning to kill Ning Lu first and save Shi Rong before talking. Originally, Gu Yan would not take the risk out of desperation. After all, Shi Rong's safety was of the utmost importance, even more important than his own life. But over there, little Qilin was about to completely consolidate its cultivation. He could only choose to gamble. Actually, Gu Yan chose to gamble because he had another consideration. Ning Lu definitely wanted to live. And under this kind of situation, Ning Lu had a very high possibility of throwing Shi Rong to the other side, and then escape by himself. As long as Ning Lu made this choice, he could bring Shi Rong and cast a secret art to leave. Even if Ning Lu had a contingency plan on Shi Rong, Gu Yan was not afraid either. Alright, you win. I indeed don't dare to kill Shi Rong. Ning Lu's right hand suddenly slapped on Shi Rong's back, revealing a pained appearance at the same time. Lifting his right leg, Ning Lu suddenly exerted force, kicking Shi Rong towards another direction. I'm going to kill him. Originally, seeing Ning Lu kick out Shi Rong, Gu Yan was very happy. But when Gu Yan saw the direction Shi Rong flew towards, his entire person became terrible. 4 directions, the direction Shi Rong flew towards just happened to be the direction where little Qilin and Ning Yu were. I'll find you to settle the score later. Gu Yan glared at Ning Lu fiercely, then immediately turned his head and charged towards Shi Rong. In the process of advancing, Gu Yan constantly prayed that little Qilin had not consolidated its cultivation yet. If the cultivation had not been completely consolidated, little Qilin's combat power would be very limited. At most, it could only be on par with him. Once little Qilin's cultivation stabilized, then even he would not be its match. Hence, Gu Yan's current attention shifted from Ning Lu to little Qilin. Let's go. At this time, little Qilin's eyes suddenly opened and its 4 hooves stomped on the ground as it carried Ning Yu and sprinted towards Ning Lu. Who? After little Qilin and Ning Yu left, Gu Yan heaved a sigh of relief. Gu Yan increased his speed again, grabbed Shi Rong, and then forcibly tore open the void and entered. Rumble. There was always a fine line between ideals and reality. As soon as Gu Yan grabbed Shi Rong and entered the void, he quickly threw Shi Rong out. Shi Rong drew an arc in midair. Then, his body rapidly expanded, and with a boom, he exploded. Aw! Shi Rong's explosion made Gu Yan's face look extremely ferocious. I'll kill you all. Gu Yan clenched his fist. Due to his anger, Gu Yan became violent. The combat power that a berserk late-stage Sage Dan puppet could unleash was absolutely astonishing. Kill. Gu Yan's body quickly swept out. His first target was Ning Lu. Gu Yan was not a fool. He naturally knew why Shi Rong had self-destructed. If Ning Lu hadn't done something, how could Shi Rong have self-detonated? What bad luck! All 5 dark golden branches have been wasted. Shi Rong's self-detonation did not make Ning Lu excited. On the contrary, it made him furious. He had given 4 dark golden branches to Ziyun, and now, 2 of them had already been destroyed. Furthermore, judging from the situation, the remaining 2 wouldn't last long. The dark golden branch that was inserted into Shi Rong's back had also been destroyed by Shi Rong's self-detonation. The destruction of the 5 dark golden branches was a huge blow to Ning Lu. If you want to kill Ning Lu, you'll have to go through me. The little Qilin first put down Ning Yu, who was on its back, and its figure flickered, blocking Gu Yan's path. If God obstructs me, I'll kill God. If Buddha obstructs me, I'll kill Buddha. Gu Yan's mind was already muddled by anger. He didn't care if it was the little Qilin in front of him or not. Boom! At this moment, the late-stage Sage Gu Yan and the little Qilin started fighting. Are you alright? On the other side, Ning Yu landed beside Ning Lu and asked out of concern, "Why do you look so disappointed? If it were you, you would be even more disappointed than me." Rolling his eyes at Ning Yu, Ning Lu continued, I'm worried that the little Qilin isn't Gu Yan's match. What are you worried about? You don't have to worry about it. Ning Yu waved his hand and interrupted Ning Lu's words. Actually, the little Qilin has already consolidated its cultivation. The reason why it hasn't made a move against Gu Yan is because it's observing the deepest part of the immortal crystal vein. Observing the deepest part of the immortal crystal vein? Ning Lu was puzzled. He had no idea what Ning Yu was talking about. Nodding his head, Ning Yu explained, in the deepest part of the immortal crystal vein, there's a teleportation array. In that instant, the little Qilin noticed that the teleportation array was about to be activated. According to the aura coming from the teleportation array, there will definitely be a Sage Realm cultivator descending once the teleportation array is activated. Before we know if the other party is a friend or foe, we have to be careful. Hearing Ning Yu's explanation, Ning Lu's face turned grave. A teleportation array located in the immortal crystal vein was definitely not simple. Although he didn't know where the teleportation array would lead to, it wouldn't be wrong to be careful. How do you intend to deal with Ziyun's matter? Retracting his thoughts, Ning Lu turned around and pointed at Ziyun. She was trying to take advantage of the chaos to rob us. I feel that we should deal with her and devour her. If you want to devour, go ahead. Why are you asking me? Ning Yu couldn't be bothered with Ning Lu. If Ning Lu really wanted to devour Ziyun, he wouldn't have used up 4 dark golden branches to help Ziyun. Now that all the dark golden branches were used up, his strength would definitely drop. Ning Lu chuckled, as if his scheme had succeeded. Let's make an agreement first. I owe you a favor this time. You better not ask about Ziyun's matter. I'm not interested. I just want to ask if Ziyun is stronger than Lu Wei? Ning Yu asked without batting an eyelid. It's not the same. The purple spiritual body and the void spiritual body have their own advantages. Ning Lu didn't know that Ning Yu was trying to get information from him, so he continued, comparatively speaking, I'm more inclined towards the void spiritual body. Because not only does the void spiritual body have a shocking cultivation speed, the cultivation speed around her is also shocking. But one thing was certain, and that was that there could only be one person by her side. If there's an additional person, the effect will be reduced by half. What the F***ck? Ning Yu cursed. No wonder Ning Lu didn't want him to ask about Ziyun's matter. So that brat already had a plan. Since Ning Lu said this, it meant that he was already prepared. Who knows, he might have already done something to the dark golden branches and secretly controlled Ziyun. Chapter 1806. You can't keep it to yourself. Ning Yu looked at Ning Lu and said, You have to listen to Ziyun's opinion on who she wants to be with. You can't decide for her. This is bad. Hearing Ning Yu's words, Ning Lu knew that he had a slip of the tongue. However, Ning Lu's acting skills were superb. He slightly knitted his brows and asked, I have no idea what you're talking about. Can you explain it to me? Don't play dumb with me. Cultivating beside the ethereal physique will allow you to achieve twice the result with half the effort. Ning Yu rolled his eyes and said, You're a late Heavenly Supreme, and I'm only a mid-Heavenly Supreme. Wait until I reach the mid-Heavenly Supreme, then I'll give Ziyun to you. Ziyun has her own thoughts. If she wants to stay by my side, then there's nothing I can do. Ning Lu shrugged, expressing his helplessness. Poochie. At this moment, Ziyun, who was far away, vomited a mouthful of blood and became extremely weak. What did you do to me? Feeling the changes in her body, Ziyun's face changed. She couldn't help reprimanding Ning Lu. I advise you to take back the thing in my body. Otherwise, I'll teach you a lesson. I'm sorry. I'm good-looking, so I don't need your help. Ning Lu bashfully smiled and said, Go to the other side and hide. I'll explain it to you after the little Qilin deals with Gu Yan. Clearly, Ziyun wasn't convinced by Ning Lu's words. With a cold snort, she began to walk towards Ning Yu. Russell. Seeing Xiun walking towards Ningyu, Ning Lu's face turned ugly. He immediately moved to block Xiun's path. Ning Lu's face turned ugly and he coldly said, I saved you from Gu Yan. I'm already being merciful by not asking you to express your gratitude. How dare you give me such an expression? Go, go, go. Stay in the corner. Ningyu pushed Ning Lu and said, Others don't believe you, but you insist on sticking your warm face to a cold butt. Who are you calling a cold butt? Ningyu was just halfway through his thought when he shivered. Xiun furiously glared at Ningyu, wishing that she could skin Ningyu alive. I'm not targeting you. Ningyu spread his hands and said helplessly, I just want to know, do you know about your physique? What do you mean? Xiun had no idea what Ningyu was asking and felt puzzled. Don't ask. She doesn't know that she has an empty spirit body. Ning Lu immediately interrupted Ningyu, afraid that Ningyu would spill the beans. In Ning Lu's heart, no matter what, he had to make Xiun stay. Furthermore, he had to make sure that Xiun was perfectly fine. Because only by staying by her side and cultivating would he be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort. For example, Lu Wei's violet spiritual body and Xiun's void spiritual body. This was a unique physique of the world. Without a certain amount of time, the person involved wouldn't even know about it. From Xiun's reaction, Ning Lu could basically confirm that she didn't know that he had the void spiritual physique. In other words, Xiun's void spiritual physique had yet to awaken. Even without awakening the void spiritual physique, she was still able to reach the intermediate saint realm. How terrifying would her strength be? The more he thought about it, the more Ning Lu felt that he couldn't let Xiun awaken the void spiritual physique. At the very least, before he and Ning Yu reached the saint realm, he couldn't let Xiun awaken the void spiritual physique. Otherwise, with Xiun's intermediate saint realm cultivation and the void spiritual physique, she might even be able to fight a Qilin in the intermediate saint realm. Fighting a Qilin, that kind of battle prowess had already reached a level that made others blush with shame. Nothing much, I just wanted to ask you what you're going to do next. Ningyu swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. What else can I do? Of course, I'm going to mine the immortal crystal vein. How ridiculous. Xiun rolled her eyes at Ningyu and continued, I have no idea when the little Qilin will be able to defeat Gu Yan. Otherwise, with the little Qilin's help, we would be able to mine all the immortal crystals in the immortal crystal vein very quickly. If I were to do it myself now, I have no idea how long it would take. The little Qilin will definitely defeat Gu Yan. Let's see when you can mine all the immortal crystals in the immortal crystal vein. Ningyu joked, why don't you go and mine the immortal crystals in the immortal crystal vein while the little Qilin and Gu Yan are fighting? Xiun frowned her brows. She had no idea what Ningyu was trying to do. It's still unknown if the little Qilin sword can defeat Gu Yan. Under such circumstances, Ningyu still asked her to mine the immortal crystal vein. Isn't he using her as free labor? It's fine if the little Qilin wins, but if the little Qilin loses, the outcome would be unimaginable. Why? Do you think that the little Qilin can't defeat Gu Yan? Ningyu raised his brows and said, Gu Yan is only a late-stage sage elixir puppet, while the little Qilin has already advanced to middle-stage sage. I believe I don't need to tell you who will win and who will lose. I can mine the immortal crystal vein, but I want 60% of the immortal crystals. Xiun said. I said 50%, so it's 50%. There's no reason for you to change your mind at the last minute. Ningyu didn't want to argue with Xiun, but thinking that 10% of the immortal crystals would be 100, Ningyu felt his heart ache. 100 immortal crystals, who knows how many Sky Sovereign Realm martial artists could be created. To Ningyu, every immortal crystal had its use. Different from the others, there was still the Supreme Palace in Giant Shield City. There were many martial artists in the Supreme Palace, so 100 immortal crystals wasn't enough to be distributed. There weren't even enough people on his side, So how could Ning Yu give Ziyun 10% more immortal crystals? Rumble. At this moment, the battle in the sky had reached its most exciting moment. The little Qilin executed all sorts of powerful techniques, suppressing Gu Yan to the point where he could only dodge and couldn't retaliate. Normally, Gu Yan wouldn't be the little Qilin's opponent. But the current situation was more normal, so it was impossible for Gu Yan to make a comeback. As for how long Gu Yan could last, it depended on how many trump cards he had. If he had more trump cards, he could last longer. If he had fewer trump cards, he could last longer. In short, Gu Yan would lose without a doubt. 30%. Ning Yu stretched out 3 fingers and said, I can only give you 30% of the immortal crystals in the vein. Don't go too far. Ziyun was so angry that her lungs were about to explode. At the start, there were 50% immortal crystals, but after a short exchange, there were only 30% left. According to the reserves of the immortal crystal vein, there were 500 immortal crystals with 50%, and only 300 immortal crystals with 30%. She only argued for a little, wanting to gain more advantages, but it ended up like this. The little Qilin is fighting with Gu Yan. Aren't you afraid that I'll capture you? Chapter 1807. Are you daydreaming? Ning Yu looked at Ziyun and asked in puzzlement, If you could take me down, you would have done it long ago. Why wait until now? Sigh. Shortly after, Ning Yu sighed and said, Giving you 30% of the immortal crystals is the biggest concession I can make after thinking about it. Although you reined in the horse in the nick of time, you nearly betrayed me with Gu Yan. You can't wash this off no matter how hard you try. The first part of Ning Yu's words made Ziyun furious, but the second part made Ziyun speechless. She had indeed nearly betrayed Ning Yu, and this was something that she couldn't wash off for the rest of her life. Not to mention that Ning Lu had left something in her body, so she could only choose to compromise. Ziyun was clear about the current situation. If she compromised, Ning Yu would give her 30% of the immortal crystals. If she didn't compromise, Ning Lu would trigger the thing in her body and make her say goodbye to the world. With my own strength, I don't think I'll be able to mine the entire immortal crystal vein within a few hours. Ziyun took a deep breath and continued, In my opinion, we should let Old Man Tianji and Yun Mu enter the vein. After all, one more person means one more force. There's no need. Ning Yu shook his head, indicating that he didn't need Old Man Tianji and Yun Mu's help. Ziyun was a little puzzled. Why didn't Ning Yu let Old Man Tianji and Yun Mu help? Could it be that he had someone else in mind? One must know that an immortal crystal vein wasn't something that just anyone could mine. If a cultivator's cultivation was too low, even if they entered the cave, there was a possibility of them collapsing. That's because the pressure in the immortal crystal vein was extremely great, to a terrifying degree. Old Man Tianji, Yun Mu, the Talisman Venerable, and Zhao Guoqing weren't weak, so it wouldn't be a problem for them to mine the immortal crystal vein. Another free labor force. Ning Yu pointed at the intense battle in the sky and said, If I've guessed correctly, Gu Yan can only last for 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Bang. When Ning Yu uttered the word 1, a muffled sound rang out in the air. Xiao. Along with the muffled sound, there was also a rapid air-piercing sound. Like a kite with a broken string, Gu Yan flew straight toward the entrance of the immortal crystal vein. Bang. Not long after, Gu Yan fell heavily at the entrance of the mine. He looked extremely weak. To kill or not to kill? The little Qilin chased after Gu Yan and raised its front paw, stepping on Gu Yan's head as it asked Ning Yu, Let's keep him alive for now and let him mine the immortal crystal mine for us. Ning Yu shook his head, signaling the little Qilin not to rush to kill Gu Yan. It would be a waste not to use free labor. Mining immortal crystal veins was not only a technical job, but also a physical one. Without the support of abundant yuan qi, it was impossible to mine. Ning Yu had already made up his mind. There were 1,000 immortal crystals in the immortal crystal vein. Ziyun and Gu Yan would mine 500. At that time, he would ask Ziyun for 200. In that case, Ziyun would have 30% and he would have 70%. Shit, retreat. Suddenly, an anxious voice rang in Ning Yu's ears. What's going on? Hearing the anxious voice, although Ning Yu didn't know what was going on, he still quickly retreated. The teleportation array in the depths of the immortal crystal vein has been activated. Experts are rushing over. The little Kylan grabbed Gu Yan and retreated far away in the blink of an eye. Rumble. Not long after Ning Yu and the rest retreated, the entire immortal crystal vein suddenly exploded. Xiao! 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 The immortal crystal vein exploded, sending countless rocks and shattered immortal crystals flying in all directions. Crash! The shattered immortal crystals and rocks did not attract Ning Yu and the little Kylan's attention. Their attention was attracted by the few figures above the immortal crystal vein. A peak-stage sage, 2 late-stage sages, and 2 mid-stage sages. Feeling the terrifying aura emitted by the few figures in the air, Ning Yu and even the little Kylan's faces turned extremely ugly. The 5 experts were all at the sage level. No matter how strong the little Kylan was, it could only fight against a peak-stage sage. It was unlikely to kill them. In addition to the peak-stage sage, there were 2 late-stage sages and 2 mid-stage sages. What should he do with such a lineup? Ning Yu couldn't help but look at Ziyun. At this stage, he could only rely on Ziyun to deal with the 2 late-stage sages. If Ziyun could stop the 2 late-stage sages, then Ning Yu felt that he could pull the cold-looking man out of the remaining mid-stage sages. After all, it would still be useful if a late-stage sages showed signs of self-detonation. Of course, everything was based on the premise that the other party was an enemy. If the other party didn't have any ill intentions, then everything would be fine. However, looking at the expression of the peak-stage sage leading the group, Ning Yu knew that they definitely didn't have good intentions. Kylan. The peak-stage sage had been looking at the little Kylan since he descended. Moreover, he was so excited that he almost jumped up. I knew that there would be a surprise here through the teleportation formation, but I didn't expect it to be such a big surprise. Next to the peak-stage sage, a chubby late-stage sage smiled and said, I think the master will be very happy to bring this Kylan back. Then what are you waiting for? Hurry up and do it. The other late-stage sage was called Zhao Xing. He looked very anxious and couldn't wait to rush forward. Wait. The peak-stage sage was called Song Wu. He raised his right hand slightly and then pressed it down gently. He said, Don't just focus on the Kylan. We really found a treasure this time. A treasure? Zhao Xing was very confused. He didn't know what Song Wu meant. A late-stage sage elixir puppet. The chubby late-stage sage was called Zhang Shui. His eyes fell on Gu Yan and he became very excited. For them, they had to give the Kylan to the master. They couldn't keep it for themselves. At most, they could exchange it for some 10th grade elixirs from the master. However, a late-stage sage elixir puppet was different. Once they caught this late-stage sage elixir puppet, they could kill it on the spot and then devour it to improve their cultivation. Oh my God! It's really a late-stage sage elixir puppet. We're rich this time. Zhao Xing shifted his gaze. When he confirmed that Gu Yan was an elixir puppet, his expression was even more exaggerated than Zhang Shui's. Zhang Shui only became excited, but Zhao Xing directly jumped up. The 4 of you, split into 2 teams and deal with the Kylan and the elixir puppet. Remember, you have to capture them alive. Chapter 1808. Void Spiritual Physique. I never thought that I would encounter one here. Song Wu's eyes were glued to Ziyun without any concealment. Zhao Xing and Zhang Shui might not have realized that Ziyun had the void spiritual physique, but Song Wu knew. There was no other reason. Song Wu had once seen an void spiritual physique in a higher realm. The void spiritual physique that Song Wu had seen before was not only powerful, but it was also a VIP wherever it went. Because cultivating beside the void spiritual physique could yield twice the results with half the effort. Some cultivators who were on the verge of breaking through would even pay a huge price to ask the void spiritual physique for help. In view of such a situation, how could Song Wu not be excited when he saw an empty spiritual physique in a low-level world? Moreover, it was only at the sage intermediate stage. Song Wu had already thought it through. Since Zhao Xing and Zhang Shui didn't know that this mid-realm sage had the void spiritual physique, then he wouldn't say it out loud. Instead, he would think of a way to bring this void spiritual physique to a higher realm. What are you guys still standing there for? The more he thought about it, the more excited Song Wu became. However, when Song Wu saw that Zhao Xing and Zhang Shui didn't make a move and were looking at Ziyun in confusion, his face turned cold and he berated, "Do you guys want me to make a move?" Swish. Swish. Seeing Song Wu's anger, Zhao Xing and Zhang Shui instantly retracted their doubts and rushed out. Zhao Xing brought a mid-realm sage to deal with the little Qilin. As for Zhang Shui, he brought another mid-realm sage to deal with Gu Yan. It's over. That guy must have found out that Ziyun has the void spiritual physique. Song Wu's actions made Ning Lu's heart sink to the bottom. Originally, he thought that by controlling Ziyun, he could use her void spiritual physique to cultivate. Who would have thought that a group of powerful people would appear out of nowhere? Should we leave first? Ning Lu wasn't an indecisive person. He knew that if he didn't make a decision, he would suffer. Therefore, he gritted his teeth and said, "It might be too late if we don't leave now. I'll get an helping to come back." Ning Yu wasn't willing. He didn't want to leave just like that. Although the enemy was powerful, it wasn't impossible. The little Qilin could deal with Song Wu, An Haoping could deal with Zhao Xing, and Ziyun could deal with Zhang Shui. As for the remaining two middle-stage sage experts, Ning Yu decided to hand them over to Zhang Chong, Tianji Laoren, and the others. Zhang Chong was a mid-stage sage. In order to help him recover as soon as possible, Ning Yu even gave him some immortal ascension grass. Under the powerful effect of the ascending immortal grass, Zhang Chong had almost recovered. Although he might not be able to kill a sage middle-stage warrior, it would not be a big problem to stall one. Although the Elder of Heavenly Secrets appeared harmless on the surface and did not have much battle prowess, the Elder of Heavenly Secrets did not have much battle prowess. However, Ning Yu knew that if even the peak saint of the Jin clan could not do anything to the Elder of Heavenly Secrets, it meant that the Elder of Heavenly Secrets definitely had a trump card. How could an old man who had a trump card and was well versed in the art of divination be killed so easily by a sage intermediate stage cultivator? Surrender, open your mind, and I can spare your life. Zhao Xing brought a warrior of the intermediate stage of the Saint Realm and floated in front of the small Qilin. He said coldly, "You should know that you won't be able to escape today. Why should I run? Just because of you stinky fish and shrimps?" The small Qilin rolled its eyes and said disdainfully, "To deal with an idiot like you, I don't need to use my full strength at all. I can kill you." "I'm so angry." Zhao Xing was really going crazy after being called stinky fish and shrimps by the small Qilin. This was intolerable. At this time, Zhao Xing only had one thought in his mind, and that was to kill the small Qilin at all costs. "If I don't kill you today, I swear I'm not a human." Zhao Xing moved quickly and rushed toward the small Qilin without any regard for his life. Behind Zhao Xing, the warrior of the intermediate stage of the Saint Realm was very helpless and could only brace himself and rush forward. Kill. At the same time, on the other side, Zhang Shui led a warrior of the intermediate stage of the Saint Realm and charged toward Gu Yan. For Zhang Shui, the temptation and pressure of the Dan puppet of the advanced stage of the Saint Realm was huge. After all, Zhang Shui's cultivation was only at the advanced stage of the Saint Realm. Under the same cultivation, Zhang Shui did not dare to say that he could kill the Dan puppet with 100% certainty. Once a person began to doubt himself, his confidence would be shaken. Once his confidence was shaken, his fighting strength would be greatly reduced and his aura would be weakened. If his aura was weakened, it would be disastrous whether it was in terms of fighting or cultivation. Shaking his head, Zhang Shui forced himself to calm down. Rumble. Originally, with Gu Yan injured, Zhang Shui and a warrior of the intermediate stage of the Saint Realm should have been able to deal with him. But now, with Zhang Shui and a warrior of the intermediate stage of the Saint Realm, they could only be evenly matched with Gu Yan and could not kill him. With the two battles erupting, Ningyu had no choice but to quickly contact and helping. This time, Ningyu had given a death order. No matter how fierce Jing Fei was, he had to rush back within 3 minutes. Because Ningyu wasn't sure when Song Wu would make a move against Ziyun. Everyone wanted a share of the ethereal physique. Release the restrictions on me. I'll help you deal with this pinnacle stage Saint Realm warrior. Ziyun did not have much of a reaction. She only said to Ning Lu with an indifferent tone, "You better think it through. If I don't make a move, all of you will die today. Although I will die if you don't make a move, don't forget that you will also die if you don't make a move." Ning Lu shrugged his shoulders, indicating that he didn't care. Anyway, even a fool would be able to see through Song Wu's gaze. Due to his excitement, Song Wu's saliva was about to drip out. "What do you want?" How could Ziyun not know what Song Wu meant? The unceasing flow of saliva, the greed in his eyes, as well as his ghostly gaze, made Ziyun feel disgusted. "I don't want to do anything. I'm just a late-stage Heavenly Supreme. What can I do?" Ning Lu said in a slightly exaggerated tone, "Let me give you a piece of advice. You better think of a way to delay for a while before Song Wu makes a move against you." "Delay for a while? Why do I need to delay for a while?" Ziyun was puzzled. In Ziyun's view, Ning Lu should have released his control over her and begged her to bring him away. But Ning Lu's reaction was completely different. He didn't play by the rules. Ziyun didn't believe that Ning Lu still had a trump card. In other words, Ziyun didn't believe that Ningyu had a trump card. Although she had only interacted with Ningyu for a few hours, Ziyun knew that Ningyu was a special person. He didn't play by the rules. But even if he didn't play by the rules, he wouldn't be able to cause too much of a commotion when facing a pinnacle stage Saint Realm warrior. After all, in front of absolute strength, all schemes were useless. Damn it. Chapter 1809. On the other side, a stern-faced cultivator suddenly appeared beside Ningyu. From the aura emitted by this cultivator, Ziyun could tell that this cultivator's cultivation wasn't low. At this moment, Ningyu placed his right hand on the stern-faced cultivator's back and faintly said, "You can make them stop now." And them? Song Wu couldn't help knitting his brows when he heard Ningyu's indifferent words. Song Wu was in the pinnacle Saint Realm, so he could naturally tell that the stern-faced cultivator before Ningyu was in the late-phase Saint Realm. If it was just a late-phase Saint Realm cultivator, Song Wu might not even bother to look at him. But most importantly, the stern-faced cultivator's body was in a weird state. Starting from his face, his neck, his upper body, his lower body and his ankles were all slightly swollen. Furthermore, the swelling was getting worse. Self-destruct. Song Wu suddenly thought of this word when he saw the stern-faced cultivator's state. His entire body was swollen and his aura was spreading. This was clearly a sign of self-destruction. Who was this mid-phase Heavenly Supreme cultivator? How could he control a late-phase Saint Realm cultivator to self-destruct? Song Wu was very puzzled, extremely puzzled. However, he was worried that Ningyu would really make the stern-faced cultivator self-destruct, so Song Wu waved his hand and signaled Zhao Xing and Zhang Shui to stop their attacks. Rustle! 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 After they stopped their attacks, Zhao Xing, Zhang Shui, and the two mid-phase Saint Realm cultivators moved and descended beside Song Wu. As for the little Qilin, Gu Yan, and the rest, they gathered around Ningyu. Ningyu, I'll help you this time. How about you let me go after we get through this? Gu Yan lowered his voice when he gathered around Ningyu. I guarantee that I'll hold up an late-phase Saint Realm and a mid-phase Saint Realm cultivator until your reinforcements arrive. You're overthinking it. Ningyu shrugged his shoulders and replied indifferently, I don't have reinforcements. If you can hold back that peak sage, I can let you go. Turning his head to look at Song Wu, who was emitting a powerful aura, Gu Yan's face darkened. Not to mention that he was injured. Even if he was not injured, he would not be able to fight against a martial artist at the peak of the Sage Realm. Why did Ningyu ask him to deal with Song Wu, who was at the peak of the Sage Realm? How about we both take a step back? As Ningyu injected Yuan Qi into the cold-looking man's body, he said to Song Wu, You leave with your friend, and I will leave with mine. From now on, we will mind our own business. Do you think you can fool me with a warrior at the peak of the Saint Realm? Song Wu said disdainfully, To tell you the truth, I'm not scared. I know you're not scared. I just don't want both of us to suffer, Ningyu said. Ha ha ha. At this moment, Song Wu laughed. His laughter was extremely savage. After laughing, Song Wu's face turned cold and he said coldly, So what if a late-stage Sage Realm cultivator self-destructs? If you really dare to let him self-destruct, you will definitely do it secretly. You will definitely not push him out in the open. Pa. Ningyu clapped his hands and said, You're smart. It's true that I don't dare to let him self-destruct. But if someone forces me to do so, I have no other choice. You're threatening me, Song Wu said, squinting his eyes. If you insist, then treat it as me threatening you. After saying this, Ningyu closed his eyes and did not speak anymore. Since Ningyu did not speak, Yun Mu and the rest would naturally not speak. In an instant, the entire area became quiet. Damn it! Song Wu took a glance at Ziyun and couldn't help cursing in his heart. Just when he was about to get his hands on the duck, he did not expect that the cooked duck would fly away at the crucial moment. Song Wu was unwilling because he had already made up his mind. No matter how difficult it was, he would take down Ziyun and bring her to a higher plane. Even if he did not want Cash, Little Qilin, or the pellet puppet, he had to get the ethereal body. Zhao Xing, Zhang Shui, go. I don't believe that he really dares to let that cold-looking cultivator self-destruct. After a while Song Wu gritted his teeth and said fiercely, As long as we can take down the little Qilin and the pellet puppet, I will definitely put in a few good words for you in front of the Grandmaster. I will ask the Grandmaster to personally refine an elixir for you, giving you the opportunity to reach the pinnacle of the Sage Realm. Really? Hearing Song Wu's promise, Zhao Xing and Zhang Shui revealed an excited expression. The two of them were different from Song Wu. When Song Wu was in a higher plane, his cultivation far surpassed the Sage Realm. As for the two of them, even in a higher plane, their cultivation was only in the late stage of the Sage Realm. There were two reasons why they could not break through to the pinnacle of the Sage Realm in a higher plane. Firstly, their talent was really low. Secondly, there was no pill emperor to refine elixir for them. As the saying went, if one's talent was not enough, they could make up for it with elixir. Song Wu's status was not low. If he personally pleaded, the Grandmaster would definitely refine elixir for the two of them. The more they thought about it, the more excited Zhao Xing and Zhang Shui became. How can this be fake? Song Wu's expression was gloomy as he said, Follow the original plan. I don't believe that they would really dare to let a late-stage Sage Realm martial artist self-destruct. Go. Zhao Xing and Zhang Shui looked at each other and saw a little nervousness in each other's eyes. Although they were nervous, in order to reach the pinnacle of the Sage Realm, the two of them still braced themselves and rushed toward Ningyu. Very well, You refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Looking at Zhao Xing and Zhang Shui, who were constantly rushing toward him, a cold look appeared in the corner of Ning Yu's eyes. In the next moment, Ning Yu's right hand slapped the back of the cold-looking man and pushed him toward Zhao Xing and Zhang Shui. Oh no! Originally, Zhao Xing and Zhang Shui were extremely nervous. They were afraid that Ning Yu would let the cold-looking man self-destruct. Now that they saw Ning Yu push the cold-looking man out, the two of them turned pale with fright and hurriedly dodged left and right. Now, seeing Zhao Xing and Zhang Shui dodging left and right, the little Qilin, Gu Yan, and even Ziyun quickly rushed out. In fact, Ning Yu had already arranged everything. Ning Yu knew that Song Wu would definitely not come over himself. He would definitely let Zhao Xing and Zhang Shui come over to test the waters. As long as Zhao Xing and Zhang Shui dared to come over, the little Qilin, Gu Yan, and Ziyun would attack. They did not hope to kill the two of them. They only hoped to seriously injure them and make them lose most of their fighting strength. Think about it, if Zhao Xing and Zhang Shui lost their combat power, then Song Wu alone would not be able to stir up too much trouble. Swish! Swish! The little Qilin, Ziyun, and Gu Yan had a tacit understanding. Among them, the little Qilin attacked Zhao Xing, while Ziyun and Gu Yan attacked Zhang Shui. Song Wu, save us! Seeing the little Qilin and Gu Yan rushing toward them, Zhao Xing and Zhang Shui's expressions changed drastically. They retreated while screaming. In fact, under normal circumstances, the two of them would not be afraid of the little Qilin and Ziyun. Chapter 1810. Two Pieces of Trash. Seeing Zhao Xing and Zhang Shui panicking, Song Wu's face turned extremely ugly. However, although Song Wu was very angry, for the safety of Zhao Xing and Zhang Shui, he still braced himself and charged forward. Of course, since he had chosen to charge forward, Song Wu would definitely not be stupid enough to face the cold-looking man who was about to self-destruct. Regardless of whether the cold-looking man would self-destruct or not, Song Wu would not put himself in danger. When he charged out, Song Wu brought out the remaining two intermediate Sage Realm cultivators. Abandoned pawns to protect the general, Song Wu decided to let the two intermediate Sage Realm cultivators face the cold-looking man, while he faced the little Qilin, Ziyun, and the rest. Get lost! As Zhao Xing and Zhang Shui were running in the opposite direction, they soon met with Song Wu. Song Wu didn't show any mercy to Zhao Xing and Zhang Shui, these two cowards. Instead, he kicked each of them back to where they came from. I'll deal with Song Wu. Seeing that the other party was charging over, the little Qilin immediately turned around and gave up on Zhao Xing, turning to face Song Wu. Rumble! The fight between the two pinnacle experts instantly caused earth-shattering fluctuations in the surroundings. Both the little Qilin and Song Wu were very powerful. Even if the little Qilin was at an absolute disadvantage, it would not be killed in a short time if the situation continued. The outcome of the fight between the two of them could not be determined in a short time, and there would not even be any casualties. However, on the other side of the battlefield, casualties soon appeared. When Ziyun and Gu Yan joined hands, their fighting strength was not to be underestimated. Furthermore, Zhang Shui did not intend to resist at the beginning. It was Song Wu who forced him to turn around and attack. Therefore, the battle on his side was the first to be decided. Crack! Crack! Ziyun and Gu Yan's attacks landed on Zhang Shui's chest at almost the same time. The powerful force directly caused Zhang Shui to fly backward, and several of his ribs were broken. In this state, Zhang Shui's fighting strength had dropped by at least 80%. Crash! Zhang Chang and Old Man Tianji reacted very quickly. Almost at the same time when Zhang Shui was sent flying, they rushed out, intending to subdue Zhang Shui and buy time for Ziyun and Gu Yan. After all, the pressure on the little Qilin's side was great, and Ziyun and Gu Yan's main task was to attack Zhao Xing. After dealing with Zhao Xing, they would go and help the little Qilin. Although Elder Tianji and Zhang Chang were not strong, they had no problem dealing with the heavily injured Zhang Shui. Oh my god! Seeing that Zhang Shui was defeated in an instant, Zhao Xing was so scared that his legs went soft, and even his voice was shaky. Run! At this moment, Zhao Xing only had one thought in his mind, and that was to escape. Who cared if he was at the peak of a saint, Song Wu, a master, or a pill? Only when he was alive could he pursue these things. If he lost his life, what was the use of medicinal pills? Stop chasing, go and help little Kylin. Originally, Gu Yan wanted to chase after Zhao Xing, but Ziyun had seen through him. Now wasn't the time to chase after Zhao Xing. Instead, he had to hurry over to help the little Qilin. So what if Zhao Xing ran away? At least in a short period of time, he wouldn't be able to stir up too much of a storm. Go! Gu Yan looked at Zhao Xing's back unwillingly, then turned around and joined the battle in the air. To be honest, Gu Yan really wanted to capture Zhao Xing alive. Because until now, Gu Yan still had hope that Ningyu wouldn't kill him. From Gu Yan's point of view, as long as he could capture Zhang Shui and Zhao Xing alive, and let Ningyu see that he was still useful, he wouldn't die. But Ziyun had already said that she would help the little Qilin. If he was still stubborn, it would definitely leave a bad impression in Ningyu's heart. In order to survive, Gu Yan decided to follow Ziyun and help the little Qilin. Rumble! In the air, the battle was getting more and more intense. Originally, the little Qilin was not Song Wu's opponent and could only bitterly hold on. But after Gu Yan and Ziyun joined the battle, the pressure on its body was instantly reduced. Although the pressure was reduced, it didn't mean that the little Qilin had a chance of winning. On the contrary, the chances of winning were getting lower and lower, because Song Wu changed his strategy. In the beginning, Song Wu didn't use his full strength because he wanted to capture the little Qilin alive. But after seeing Gu Yan and Ziyun join the battle, Song Wu immediately changed his strategy and used all his strength. Since Song Wu used all his strength, the ones who suffered were naturally the little Qilin and the rest. Therefore, when Ziyun and Gu Yan joined the battle, not only did they not help the little Qilin, but they also put the little Qilin in an even more dangerous situation. They shouldn't be Song Wu's opponent. We have to plan early. Looking at the battle in the air, Ning Lu said in a deep voice, "Now we have two choices. First, when an Haoping comes, let him join the battle and fight Song Wu to death." Speaking up to here, Ning Lu paused for a moment and immediately continued, "As for the second choice, I think you know it even without me saying it. Leave. Leave as soon as possible." "There's no way to leave." Ningyu shook his head and said, "Since Song Wu didn't take the initiative to fight the cold-looking man, it means that he's still afraid of the cold-looking man exploding himself. We can use this to force Song Wu." "How do we force him?" Ning Lu asked doubtfully. He didn't know what Ningyu was planning. Ningyu didn't answer Ning Lu's question immediately. Instead, he shifted his gaze to the other side. After a while, Ningyu said, "They're coming." Swish. Swish. As soon as Ningyu said the word, "They're coming," two figures, one in front and one behind, flew straight to this side. An Haoping! Jing Fei! At first, Ning Lu didn't know what Ningyu was going to do. However, when he saw An Haoping and Jing Fei suddenly flying over, as well as the cold-looking man in An Haoping's hand, he instantly understood everything. "Are you really going to let the cold-looking man explode himself?" Ning Lu's face was full of disbelief. He looked a little dumbfounded. After all, the cold-looking man was a genuine late-stage Saint Realm warrior. If a late-stage Saint Realm warrior blew himself up here, the entire four-corner city would probably be razed to the ground if there was no one to stop him. "That's my plan, but it depends on whether Song Wu cooperates." Ningyu looked solemn and said, "If he cooperates, it's good for everyone. However, if he doesn't, then we'll all die together." Damn it! Song Wu had no idea what Ningyu was thinking. However, Song Wu knew clearly about the sudden appearance of two late-stage Saint Realm warriors. To be honest, with Song Wu's current combat strength, he could easily deal with two more late-stage Saint Realm warriors, let alone two late-stage Saint Realm warriors. What made Song Wu angry was that he found that one of the late-stage Saint Realm warriors was holding the cold-looking man. This discovery was the reason why the cold-looking man was really angry and even a little scared. The cold-looking man returned, and his body swelled even more. Chapter 1811. Holy shit! Jin Fei was in a terrible mood. He was blocked by an Haoping in Four Corner City, which prevented him from coming to the Immortal Crystal Vein. Originally, when an Haoping took the initiative to leave, Jin Fei felt that his chance had come. Finally, he could go and find trouble with Ningyu. Who would have thought that he would see a pinnacle Sage Realm martial artist? Moreover, none of the three who fought with the pinnacle Sage Realm martial artist was weaker than him. Qilin, who was in the intermediate Sage Realm, could easily kill him. Ziyun, who was in the intermediate Sage Realm, could not be his opponent. As for Dan Jin, who was in the advanced Sage Realm, Jin Fei knew that he could not defeat her. Since the enemy was powerful, he should leave first. Jin Fei was not an indecisive person. He was very clear about the principle of being decisive when it was time to make a decision. Therefore, when he saw the pinnacle Sage Realm martial artists fighting and an Haoping foolishly rushing forward, Jin Fei immediately decided to leave. Where there's life, there's hope. He would first go to the Pill Emperor City to meet up with the Jin family's experts, then slowly think of a way to deal with Ningyu. Jin Fei did not believe that Ningyu would not go to the Pill Emperor City to participate in the alchemy conference. Consider yourself lucky. Before leaving, Jin Fei did not forget to leave some harsh words. Of course, in this situation, Jin Fei's harsh words were powerless. Since you're here, why not stay and watch the show? Seeing that Jin Fei wanted to leave, Ningyu gave Ning Lu a look and said to Jin Fei, "That pinnacle Sage Realm martial artist wants to monopolize the Immortal Crystal Vein. Don't you think you should go and persuade him?" "I'll persuade him a few times." Jin Fei wished that he could skin Ningyu alive. Actually, Jin Fei's thoughts were simple. He could give up on the Immortal Crystal Vein. The most important thing now was to leave as soon as possible, before that pinnacle Sage Realm martial artist noticed him. Otherwise, it would be too late if he waited for that pinnacle Sage Realm martial artist to notice him. "I can rope him in." Song Wu, who was fighting far away, instantly saw Jin Fei's expression. Since Ningyu and Jing Fei had a grudge against each other, he might as well rope Jing Fei in and let him stop the cold man. As long as the cold-looking man did not approach him, Song Wu had absolute confidence that he could leave. Even if the cold-looking man were to self-destruct, he would be able to escape successfully from such a long distance. At most, he would only suffer some minor injuries. Thinking of this, Song Wu hurriedly sent a voice transmission to Jing Fei. "If you help me stop that cold-looking warrior at the late stage of the Sage Realm, I can give you 1,000 immortal crystals." "I can't believe it." Hearing Song Wu's words, Jin Fei was dumbfounded. "As long as I stop the stern-looking man, I can get 1,000 immortal crystals?" No matter how he looked at it, this was a good deal. However, Jing Fei was a person who would not release an eagle until he saw the rabbit. If Song Wu wanted to persuade him with his glib tongue, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. "Give me 500 immortal crystals as a deposit first." Once a person's greed took over, they would desperately suppress their rationality. At this time, Jing Fei's greed had the upper hand. He began to bargain with Song Wu. "I promise I will stop the cold man." In Jing Fei's opinion, it did not matter who he worked with. Since he could get so many immortal crystals by working with a warrior at the peak of the Sage Realm, why not? Besides, Jing Fei did not think that he would be hindered by Song Wu in the end. After all, the Jin family was not to be trifled with. This time, there were warriors at the peak of the Sage Realm among the warriors of the Jin family who had descended from the high-level plains. As long as it could catch mice, it was a good cat. At this time, Jing Fei was even a little excited. According to the distribution method discussed by the four empires, the Jin family of the Qianya Empire could get 250 immortal crystals at most. Now, there was a great chance that he could get 500 immortal crystals. As for getting 1,000 immortal crystals from Song Wu, Jing Fei did not even think about it. In other words, Jing Fei was the one who wanted to get something without risking anything. Damn, why is this person even more greedy than me? Hearing Jing Fei's words, Song Wu's whole body became uncomfortable. The reason why he wanted to work with Jing Fei was that he wanted to solve the problem of the cold-looking man self-destructing at the lowest cost. On the other hand, he wanted to use Jing Fei to catch Ningyu. Song Wu was not stupid. He knew very well that although Ningyu's cultivation seemed to be only at the middle stage of the Sky Supreme stage, he was very powerful. It could be said that without Ningyu in the middle, little Kylan and the others were just a mass of loose sand. Come here, I'll give you 500 immortal crystals. Song Wu gritted his teeth as if he had made a big sacrifice. He continued, I, Song Wu, can swear to the heavenly Tao that if I cheat you, I will never be able to return to the high-level plains. Is he really going to give me 500 immortal crystals? Song Wu's behavior indeed made Jing Fei suspicious. Logically speaking, Jing Fei should completely believe Song Wu when he made the heavenly Tao oath. However, for some reason, Jing Fei felt that there was a trap. I'll risk it. The bold ones will be stuffed to death, and the timid ones will starve to death. Jing Fei was a person who liked to gamble. He immediately decided to take a gamble. If Song Wu went back on his word, he could find a way to escape. After all, Song Wu was still fighting with little Kylan and the others, so he should not have time to deal with him. Swoosh. Before departing, Jing Fei glanced at an Haoping who had landed next to Ningyu. Then, his figure flashed and he rushed towards Song Wu. You go over too. Bring the cold-looking man over. Seeing Jing Fei rush towards Song Wu, Ningyu waved his hand and signaled an Haoping to bring the cold-looking man over. Since he was putting on a show, he had to go all the way. The previous few times, Ningyu had used fake self-destruction to deceive others. This time, Ningyu decided to really let the cold-looking man self-destruct. In other words, he had to increase the amount of essence qi that was injected into the cold-looking man's body, so that he was at the critical point of self-destruction or not. Only this way it would be convincing. Otherwise, it would be hard for an old fox like Song Wu to believe him. I got it. Just as Jing Fei rushed towards Song Wu and an Haoping rushed out with the cold-looking man, Ning Lu's voice suddenly rang in Ningyu's ears. When the two words that Ning Lu said fell into Ningyu's ears, it made Ningyu's heart move. Just now, Ningyu gave Ning Lu a look, meaning to let Ning Lu think of a way to get some information from Zhang Shui. As long as he could get some useful information, then he would have the capital to negotiate with Song Wu. These people are mainly under the orders of Master Gong Yangqing. They came here through the Pill Imperial City's Alchemy Association's internal teleportation array. Ning Lu sorted out his thoughts and immediately said, they only have one goal, and that is to bring away a Kylan as an elixir for Gong Yangqing to refine. Don't tell me these useless things. I want to know if we can use Zhang Shui to keep Song Wu in check. Ningyu waved his hand and interrupted Ning Lu's words, asking in a deep voice. Chapter 1812. I'm afraid not. Ning Lu shook his head and said, in Song Wu's eyes, Zhang Shui is just a small fry. Song Wu doesn't care about his life or death. That's right, that Grandmaster Gongyang, how did he know that there was a Qilin in Four Corner City? Since he could not use Zhang Shui to keep Song Wu in check, Ningyu did not dwell on this matter, and asked in confusion. Gong Yongqing had Song Wu and the others come here to take away a Qilin, which meant that he knew there was a Qilin here. Ningyu found it strange. Gong Yongqing was in Alchemy Emperor City, which was very far from Four Corner City. How could Gong Yongqing calculate such a long distance? Zhang Shui doesn't know the specifics. Gong Yongqing only told them that there was a Qilin in Four Corner City and told them to take it away through the teleportation formation, Ning Lu replied. You guys leave this place first to prevent Song Wu from doing anything desperate. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu said in a low voice, after you leave, think of a way to evacuate the people in Four Corner City. Ningyu, I think there might be a change in the situation. Hearing Ningyu's words, Elder Tianji frowned slightly and said, I did a divination just now, and the divination showed 4 words. Enemies have invaded. Enemies have invaded? Ningyu was slightly taken aback and said, What do you mean? To put it simply, your former enemies are about to enter the battlefield, Elder Tianji said in a certain tone. I have many enemies in the past, who will enter the battlefield and influence the situation. Ningyu said doubtfully. Crack. However, before Ningyu could finish his sentence, a sudden change occurred. The void suddenly broke, and a figure dashed out of the space, charging at Ningyu at a terrifying speed. Chi-chi. This figure was shockingly fast, and even the friction with the air made a hissing sound. Not good. The sudden change caused Ningyu's expression to change drastically. Others might not know who the martial artist rushing towards him was, but he himself was very clear about it. Lu Chuanji. Lu Chuanji was at the peak of the Saint Realm. Back in the Emperor Palace, if Lu Chuanji hadn't deceived him with Smiling Tiger's self-explosion, Ningyu and the others would have died there. Now that Lu Chuanji had returned, how could Ningyu not be shocked? While he was shocked, Ningyu's heart sank to the bottom. Originally, Song Wu, who was at the peak of the Sage Realm, was enough to give him a headache. Now that Lu Chuanji, who was at the peak of the Sage Realm, had appeared, the situation instantly became even worse. You can wear out iron shoes in fruitless searching, only to find it by chance. Ningyu, this day next year will be the anniversary of your death. While flying, Lu Chuanji said coldly, speaking of which, I really have to thank the late-stage sage martial artist you gave me. Because of him, my strength has improved a little, and the combat power that I can use in this low-level celestial spirit realm has increased by at least 10%. Looking at Lu Chuanji, who was approaching him, Ningyu's eyes turned rapidly as he thought of a countermeasure. From Lu Chuanji's current posture, it was obvious that he would not give up until he achieved his goal. This situation was the most difficult to deal with. Bribe? Use his strength to resist? Escape? Ningyu knew very well that no matter what method he used, he would definitely not be able to escape from Lu Chuanji. Hurry up and leave. Seeing that Lu Chuanji was about to rush to Ningyu's side, Ning Lu pushed Ningyu away and used all his strength to attack Lu Chuanji. Ning Lu's intention was very clear. Sacrifice him so that Ningyu could leave. However, Ningyu treated Ning Lu as his brother. How could he step on his brother's shoulder to escape? Moreover, even if he left now, it would definitely be too late. After all, it would be difficult to escape from a martial artist at the peak of the Sage Realm. How dare you! In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, a roar came from midair. Hearing this roar, Lu Chuanji paused for a moment and looked over. Damn! This glance caused Lu Chuanji to stop his attack. Lu Chuanji's gaze was fixed on the little Qilin. A living Qilin was terrifyingly valuable. Dan Qi, ethereal body. Moreover, Lu Chuanji also discovered Guyan, who was in the late phase Sage Realm, and Ziyun, who was in the middle phase Sage Realm. A Qilin was already very attractive to Lu Chuanji. In addition to Dan Qi, who was in the late phase Sage Realm, an ethereal body, who was in the middle phase Sage Realm, it was completely reasonable for Lu Chuanji to give up on attacking Ningyu. However, although Lu Chuanji gave up on attacking, he still casually waved his hand. Poochie! The cold light flew over and collided with Ning Lu, sending him flying and spurting out a large mouthful of blood. Ice-looking man. What made Lu Chuanji surprised was that this wasn't the end. When he saw the cold-looking man in an Haoping's hand, Lu Chuanji instantly understood. Same old trick. These words appeared in Lu Chuanji's mind. Back then, Ningyu had used this trick to scare him away. Now, Ningyu wanted to use the same method to scare away the Pinnacle Sage Realm Martialist. I can totally sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. I can let Ningyu use the explosion of the cold-looking man to scare away the Pinnacle Sage Realm Martialist. Then, I can enjoy the Qilin and ethereal body alone. In an instant, many thoughts flashed through Lu Chuanji's mind. The last thought left a deep impression in Lu Chuanji's mind. Swoosh. Thinking of this, Lu Chuanji's figure flashed, and he found a place in the air to float. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and acted like he was watching a show. Damn it. In fact, Song Wu had already noticed Lu Chuanji when he appeared. However, even if Qilin and Ziyun didn't stop, he naturally wouldn't stop first. However, now that Lu Chuanji was acting like he was watching a show, he completely put down his pride. He forcefully blasted out a move and forced Qilin and Ziyun to retreat. Then, he grabbed Jin Fei and flew to another area. Song Wu retreated. Little Qilin and Ziyun hurriedly returned to Ningyu's side. Even the cold-looking man, an Haoping, also returned the way he came and stood next to Ningyu. Lu Chuanji, Song Wu, and Ningyu's group were protecting the city. None of them took the initiative to attack. The situation was a little confusing at the moment. The three parties seemed to be at peace with each other, but each had their own fears. Originally, Ningyu's side was the weakest side. However, with Lu Chuanji as a hindrance, they became the stronger side. Because Lu Chuanji and Song Wu were both arrogant people. One was the young master of the sacred divine palace, and the other was the favorite of Gong Yangqing. The probability of their cooperation was extremely low. All things considered, Ningyu's group would not be in danger for the time being. Tick-tock, tick-tock. None of the three parties spoke. They all chose to remain silent. Time was ticking away. Ningyu could drag it out, no matter how long he dragged it out. However, Lu Chuanji and Song Wu couldn't drag it out for long. Song Wu's mission was to bring a Qilin back to Elixir Emperor City and hand it over to Gong Yangqing. Chapter 1813. Lu Chuanji knew how powerful the demonic humans were. Under the circumstances where there was an energy seal in his body, he was still able to erupt with such a shocking battle power. One could imagine, once the energy seal was broken, just how much would his strength increase to. At the very least, Lu Chuanji knew that he was no match for the human demon at the same cultivation level. Therefore, among the three forces, Lu Chuanji and Song Wu were the most anxious. There is no enmity between us. We can work together. Song Wu was the first to lose his patience. After all, Gong Yangqing was waiting over at Alchemy Emperor City. He could not afford to delay Gong Yangqing's important matter. How? Originally, Lu Chuanji was worried about the arrival of the human demons, so he wanted to take the initiative to join hands with Song Wu. But now that Song Wu took the initiative to bring it up, Lu Chuanji was naturally very happy. Because when it came to joining forces, whoever suggested it first would be at a disadvantage. Qilin and ethereal body belong to me. That late-stage Saint Pellet belongs to you. Song Wu said. Have you lost your mind? Hearing Song Wu's distribution method, Lu Chuanji almost died of anger. There were only 3 useful people in total. Qilin, ethereal body, pill puppet of the late sage stage. In terms of importance, the Qilin was on par with the ethereal body, while the late stage sage pill puppet was the least important. Now that Song Wu had asked for both the ethereal body and the Kirin, if he wasn't crazy, then he was treating Lu Chuanji like a fool. What's the hurry? I'm not done yet. Song Wu frowned and said, apart from the late-stage sage Dan Ming, I'll leave Ning Yu and the rest to you. Since you're not sincere, then let's not talk anymore. Lu Chuanji also had a temper. He said coldly, continue to drag it out. Anyway, I have plenty of time. There's no hurry. We can drag it out slowly. After saying this, Lu Chuanji raised his eyebrows at Song Wu, then shifted his gaze to Ning Yu, as if he wanted to cooperate with Ning Yu. Seeing Lu Chuanji's action, Song Wu was so angry that his nose became crooked. If Lu Chuanji really cooperated with Ning Yu, then he was basically done for. Of the three forces, the weakest was Ning Yu's side. His and Lu Chuanji's strength should be about the same. Once two factions joined forces, the other faction would be doomed. Therefore, when Lu Chuanji looked at Ning Yu, Song Wu immediately gritted his teeth and said in a deep voice, I can give you the empty spirit body again. In Song Wu's heart, it was impossible for Qilin to give up, because the Qilin was specifically requested by Gong Yangqing. As for the ethereal body, Ziyun, and the late phase Saint Realm pill puppet Guyan, he could give them away. In short, the Qilin and the empty spirit body belong to me. Dan Qi and Ning Yu are yours. Lu Chuanji stated his request, this is my bottom line. That's impossible. Song Wu shook his head and said, the others can be discussed, but I must have the Qilin. Discuss? How are you going to discuss this with me? I also want the Qilin. You can choose the rest. Lu Chuanji raised his eyebrows and said sinisterly. Song Wu had exposed too much. From Song Wu's attitude, Lu Chuanji could easily tell that he wanted the Qilin and was determined to get it. When both sides negotiated, he knew the other party's bottom line. He would definitely take the initiative and get the greatest benefit. Don't force me. If you anger me, I can cooperate with Ning Yu and the others. Song Wu said fiercely. I don't care. Lu Chuanji shrugged and had an indifferent attitude. Although Lu Chuanji looked indifferent on the surface, he was very nervous in his heart. If Song Wu really reached an agreement with Ning Yu, it would be disastrous for him. However, Lu Chuanji also had confidence. No matter how he looked at it, it was impossible for Ning Yu to reach an agreement with Song Wu. Because Song Wu wanted the Qilin, and Ning Yu would definitely not be stupid enough to give the Qilin to Song Wu. This was not only a matter of principle, but also a matter of betraying a friend. Ning Yu, are we going to keep dragging this on like this? Lu Chuanji was still wrangling with Song Wu over there, but Ning Yu had already started chatting with Ning Lu. Ning Lu looked at Lu Chuanji and Song Wu with a face full of worry and said in a low voice, if we continue to delay, I'm afraid there will be more people coming out from the transportation formation. If we don't continue to delay, are you going to come out and deal with Song Wu and Lu Chuanji? Ning Yu rolled his eyes and said, relax, be confident. What we need to do now is relax and be confident, and pretend that someone is coming to help. What do you mean? Ning Lu frowned, not knowing what Ning Yu meant. Isn't that simple? I got the news from Zhang Shui that Song Wu has to bring the little Qilin to Pill Emperor City. So if we continue to delay, Song Wu will definitely be the first to give up. Ning Yu shrugged and said with a very confident look, as for Lu Chuanji, don't be fooled by his confident appearance. In reality, he is even more worried than you, Song Wu. Why would Lu Chuanji be worried? Ning Lu was puzzled and completely confused. Ning Yu glared at Ning Lu and said, Lu Chuanji is worried about the human devil. Human devil? Ning Lu was still very confused. Ning Yu's face was full of black lines. Ning Lu didn't know about the human devil. Back in the Moling Mountain Range, Ning Lu and the Dark Emperor had returned to Giant Shield City first. Ning Lu naturally didn't know what happened after that with the human devil. Anyway, don't worry about it. You just need to know that you don't need to do anything right now. Just wait here quietly. Ning Yu waved his hand, indicating that Ning Lu shouldn't think too much. After that, Ningyu moved his gaze towards the little Qilin and said, "Please pay more attention to the teleportation formation in the depths of the immortal crystal vein. Notify me at the first possible moment if there's even the slightest sign of trouble." "Don't worry. I know what to do." The little Qilin nodded to show that it wasn't stupid. After giving a few hurried instructions, Ningyu sat cross-legged on the ground and slowly closed his eyes. "What are you doing?" Ning Lu was puzzled when he saw Ningyu's actions. "Cultivating to break through to the late stage of Sky Supreme." Ningyu replied indifferently. Ning Lu opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but he didn't know what to say when he heard Ningyu's words. "You really have a big heart. The fire is about to burn your ass, but you still have the heart to cultivate and break through to the late stage of Sky Supreme? Cut the crap. Hurry up and give me the pure energy you absorbed from Serene. I want to break through to the late stage of Sky Supreme." Just as Ning Lu was in a daze, Ningyu's voice rang out in his ears. "What the f***ck?" Ning Lu immediately cursed. He had indeed absorbed a lot of pure energy from Serene, but he'd left it for himself to break through to the peak of Sky Supreme. If he gave it to Ningyu, how could he break through to the peak of Sky Supreme? Moreover, even if he gave it to Ningyu, Ningyu wouldn't be able to break through to the late stage of Sky Supreme. There was a wolf in front and a tiger behind. Chapter 1814. Are you really going to break through to the late stage Sky Supreme? Although Ning Lu felt that it was a little unbelievable, he still understood Ningyu very well. Generally speaking, Ningyu wouldn't do something he wasn't confident in. At first, it sounded like Ningyu was a little rash to break through to the late stage Sky Supreme now. But on second thought, it made a lot of sense. First, Song Wu and Lu Chuanji were in a stalemate. The two were suspicious of each other and focused on each other. If Ningyu were to break through to the late stage Sky Supreme now, it would naturally put a lot of pressure on them. Putting aside whether he could reach the late phase Heavenly Sovereign Realm, even if he failed, it wouldn't be a loss to Ningyu. Perhaps Lu Chuanji and Song Wu would think that Ningyu had a trump card and wouldn't dare to act rashly. Of course it's true. Cut the crap and give me the pure energy. Ningyu waved his hand impatiently. I'll make you pay for delaying my plans. Swish. Ning Lu couldn't be bothered with Ningyu. With a flick of his wrist, he tossed an interspatial pouch to Ningyu. But Ningyu stretched out his right hand and caught the storage bag firmly. He then took out a small piece of leaf from inside. Holy shit! Ningyu's jaw almost dropped when he sensed the terrifying energy contained within the leaf. The pure energy within the leaf wasn't little, but a lot. It was terrifyingly abundant. According to Ningyu's initial estimates, once he devoured all the energy, forget about the late-stage Sky Supreme, he might even be able to break through to the peak Sky Supreme. No. Ning Lu felt that Ningyu's smile was a little strange. He hurriedly reached into his pocket and began to inspect it. Don't. This inspection caused Ning Lu's expression to change drastically. He wanted to rush up and snatch the interspatial pouch back. Ning Lu had prepared 2 interspatial pouches. One of the storage bags naturally contained the pure energy he had devoured from Serene. As for the second storage bag, it was the energy he had accumulated over the years. Ning Lu had originally planned to give the first storage bag to Ningyu, but he had accidentally given the second storage bag to Ningyu. Giving the first storage bag to Ningyu had already made Ning Lu's heart ache. Now that the second storage bag had fallen into Ningyu's hands, how could he not panic? In a panic, Ning Lu rushed out, wanting to snatch the storage bag back. Whoosh! However, when Ningyu saw the amount of energy in the storage bag, he had already prepared a backup plan. Zhang Chang moved and blocked Ning Lu's way. Get out of my way! Seeing that Ningyu had already started to devour the energy, Ning Lu became very anxious and scolded Zhang Chang. Be careful, I won't be polite to you. Don't make things difficult for me. It's Ning Yu's order. Zhang Chang was expressionless. Fine, fine. You win. Zhang Cheng's cultivation was at the mid-stage Saint realm. Ning Lu knew that he wasn't his match, so he could only leave some harsh words and sit cross-legged next to Ning Yu. Taking out the first storage bag, Ning Lu took out a golden leaf and began to devour the energy within the golden leaf in a frenzy. Ning Lu's idea was simple. Since you want to reach the late-stage Sky Supreme, fine, I'll do it too. But I'll reach the peak Sky Supreme. If I don't have enough energy, you'll definitely give me back the extra energy. What are the two of them doing? Yun Mu watched Ning Yu and Ning Lu's actions with his mouth slightly open. He was a little dumbfounded. The fire is burning your eyebrows, and you still dare to cultivate here? You're simply courting death. What else? One is trying to reach the late-stage Sky Supreme, and the other is trying to reach the peak Sky Supreme. The Elder of Heavenly Secrets did not make a fuss. He shrugged his shoulders and said, "What we need to do now is relax, do everything possible to relax and pretend that nothing has happened." "Really?" Yun Mu asked hesitantly. "Listen to me, yes." Elder Tianji nodded lightly, then slowly closed his eyes, as if entering some kind of ethereal realm. Why is he trying to reach the late-stage Sky Supreme now? Although Lu Chuanji and Song Wu were arguing fiercely, they were very concerned about Ning Yu's every move. Especially when they saw Ning Yu start to break through to the late-stage Sky Supreme, they instantly stopped talking and started guessing Ning Yu's intentions. Could it be that Ning Yu really has nothing to fear? As the young master of Sacred Divine Palace, Lu Chuanji had always thought about many things. Through Ning Yu's attempt to break through to the late-stage Sky Supreme, he thought that Ning Yu might have a backup plan, a very big one at that. Otherwise, why would Ning Yu dare to break through to the late-stage Sky Supreme now? Bang! Looking at Ning Yu's posture, it didn't seem like he was putting on a show, because every once in a while there would be a muffled sound. Every muffled sound represented that Ning Yu had broken through to the late-stage Sky Supreme. Rumble! Rumble! Just as Lu Chuanji's thoughts were running wild, a terrifying rumble suddenly rang out not far from them. Lu Chuanji was dumbfounded when he heard the terrifying rumbling sounds. He reached the late-stage Sky Supreme just like that? Lu Chuanji raised his head and glanced at Ning Yu. He felt like he couldn't wrap his head around it. Even in the Sacred Divine Palace, it was rare for someone to break through from the mid-stage Sky Supreme to the late-stage Sky Supreme in such a short time. In other words, even in Sacred Divine Palace, Ning Yu was one of the top geniuses. Gulp! Compared to Lu Chuanji's shock, Song Wu was even more shocked. Ning Yu always managed to surprise him, catching him off guard. Originally, he was determined to obtain the little Qilin, the pill puppet, and the empty spiritual body. But Lu Chuanji's sudden appearance on the battlefield disrupted all his plans. Now that Ning Yu had broken through to the late-stage Sky Supreme, how could he not be shocked? The essence of the World Tree is really monstrous. Ning Yu didn't know what Lu Chuanji and Song Wu were thinking. Right now, he was extremely shocked. When he received the storage bag and the golden leaf, to be honest, even Ning Yu didn't think he could break through to the late-stage Sky Supreme in such a short time. Just because some things couldn't be imagined didn't mean they wouldn't happen. After Ning Yu absorbed a portion of the pure energy in the golden leaf, he quickly broke through his limit and reached the late-stage Sky Supreme. Moreover, Ning Yu could clearly feel it. If he absorbed all the remaining energy in the golden leaf, there was a high chance he could break through to the Sage Realm. However, Ning Yu wasn't a fool. Breaking through to the Sage Realm now was the most unwise choice. Ning Yu dared to break through to the peak Sky Supreme now, but he didn't dare to break through to the Sage Realm. Hurry up and return the energy to me. I want to break through to the half-Sage Realm. Chapter 1815. You want to break through to the half-Saint Realm? Ning Yu's eyes widened when he heard Ning Lu's words. Disbelief filled his face. How could Ning Lu dare to think about breaking through to the half-Saint Realm? The half-saint realm and the sage realm were two very big thresholds. Although Ningyu had only used a few minutes to break through from the mid-stage Sky Supreme to the late-stage Sky Supreme, it was done with the help of the World Tree's essence. How could it be so easy for Ning Lu to break through to the half-saint realm? In other words, even if Ning Lu could really break through to the half-saint realm, it would take a lot of time. After such a long period of time, who knew what kind of trouble would happen? At the very least, Lu Chuanji and Song Wu wouldn't allow Ning Lu to break through to the half-saint realm just like that. Don't cause trouble for me. I can return the energy to the Sun Dark Crystal. Ning Yu's expression was solemn as he turned to look at Ning Lu. However, Ning Yu had only spoken halfway when he stopped abruptly, and he directly cursed. Peak Sky Supreme. Ning Yu clearly remembered that Ning Lu only devoured the energy after he devoured it. He had broken through from the mid-stage Sky Supreme to the late-stage Sky Supreme, while Ning Lu had broken through from the late-stage Sky Supreme to the peak Sky Supreme. Although they had both increased their cultivation by a level, there was no comparison between the two. Ningyu had broken through to the late-stage Sky Supreme, so his strength should be comparable to a mid-stage sage. He could even kill a mid-stage sage if he used his trump card. Ning Lu, on the other hand, could fight against a late-stage sage. That was the difference. Don't do anything stupid. Ning Yu's expression was gloomy as he scolded Ning Lu. Don't drag us down if you want to die. Why would I want to die? Ning Lu said unhappily. I took the wrong storage bag, and you didn't want to exchange it with me, so I could only resort to this. Resort my ass. Tell me the truth. Why did you secretly store so much energy? And all of them are the essence of the World Tree. Ning Yu's face was black as he replied coldly. Previously, before you took on a human form, you could still produce a Xingyang pill every once in a while. But ever since you've successfully taken on a human form, forget about Xingyang pills. I can't even see a single bit of energy from you. Ning Lu rolled his eyes and said, I must have stored so much of the essence of the World Tree to break through to the Saint Realm. Do you think I can break through to the Saint Realm with the little energy you gave me? I can't outtalk you. With a flick of his wrist, Ning Yu returned the rest of the purified World Tree to Ning Lu. Ning Yu was very clearly aware that since Ning Lu had stored so much of the World Tree's essence, and even didn't hesitate to charge into the half-saint realm to threaten him, then Ning Yu naturally had his own reasons. Regarding this, Ning Yu did not want to interfere with Ning Lu. If Ning Lu wanted to say it, he would definitely say it. Ning Yu knew that if he didn't want to say it, he wouldn't be able to get it out no matter how hard he asked. Swoosh. Catching the storage bag that Ning Yu threw over, Ning Lu carefully put it in his arms and said to Ning Yu solemnly, If we can get out of here alive, I want to ask you for a favor. Seeing Ning Lu's serious expression, Ning Yu asked telepathically, What is it? Actually, Ning Yu and Ning Lu were communicating through telepathy. Fortunately, Ning Yu's soul force had advanced to the pinnacle of the rank 9 realm. Otherwise, his communication with Ning Lu would not have been concealed from Lu Chuanji and Song Wu. Exposing the Qilin was not a big deal. After all, there was more than one Qilin in this world. However, if Ning Lu was exposed as the World Tree, then the consequences would be unthinkable. Ning Yu was sure. As long as Ning Lu's true identity was exposed, it would only take 3 minutes at most for all the forces to gather in Four Corner City. With the celestial spirit region in chaos, the forces from all the higher planes would wait for the opportunity to descend many pinnacle experts. Among these pinnacle experts, there would definitely be some who had absolute trump card. According to Ning Yu's speculation, there would definitely be someone who could shield the plane barrier in a short time and display combat power that surpassed the Sage Realm. If there was anything in the celestial spirit region that was worth these experts revealing their trump cards, there were probably only two. One was the power of origin, and the other was the World Tree. It's not a big deal. I just want you to find me 10,000 immortal crystals. I have a use for them. Ning Lu scratched his head and said with slight embarrassment. As soon as Ning Lu finished speaking, Ning Yu almost spat out a mouthful of blood. 10,000 immortal crystals? How dare you say that? One had to know that for the Four-Corner City, this mine that only had 1,000 immortal crystals, the four empires had sent late-stage sage martial artists over. One could imagine how many people would be attracted by 10,000 immortal crystals. No problem, Ning Yu said in a low voice. When I reach the pinnacle of the sage realm, I will definitely find a way to help you find 10,000 immortal crystals. Don't, I'm in a hurry. Hearing Ning Yu's words, Ning Lu hurriedly said, You have to find 10,000 immortal crystals before the conference in Alchemy Emperor City starts, or it will be too late. What do you want? Why are you in such a hurry? Ning Yu frowned and asked. I can sense where the roots of the world tree are. Taking a deep breath, Ning Lu said, But with my current strength, if I want to get close to the roots of the world tree and merge with it, I will need at least 10,000 immortal crystals. The roots of the world tree. Ning Yu's expression changed drastically. There was no need to repeat the importance of the world tree. Ning Yu knew better than anyone that as long as Ning Lu could merge with the roots of the world tree, his strength would increase by at least a few levels. In other words, after merging with the roots of the world tree, Ning Lu's cultivation would break through the limits of the sage realm and advance to a higher level. At that time, who in the entire celestial spirit region would be a match for them? Of course, Ning Yu knew that it was pointless to think about all this now. Just 10,000 immortal crystals was enough for him to drink a pot of water. Can I use something else instead? Ning Yu asked in a low voice. To be honest, Ning Yu was not confident that he would be able to find 10,000 immortal crystals in the celestial spirit region. But if he could use something else instead, Ning Yu felt that he could give it a try. No, I can only use immortal crystals. Ning Lu shook his head and poured a bucket of cold water on Ning Yu. Rumble. However, before Ning Lu could finish his sentence, Lu Chuanji and Song Wu, who were on the other side, seemed to have broken down and started fighting. The scene of two martial artists at the pinnacle of the sage realm fighting was truly terrifying. All kinds of spells flew out, shattering the void. Song Wu, if I can't get the Kirin today, don't even think about getting it. In midair, Lu Chuanji said coldly as he fought with Song Wu, I have a very special trait. If I can't get something, I will destroy it. As he spoke, Lu Chuanji forced Song Wu to retreat and charged at the little Kirin. If you want to kill the little Kirin, you should at least ask for my opinion. Chapter 1816. Damn it! Retreat quickly. Seeing Lu Chuanji and Song Wu rush out, Ning Yu's expression changed, and he hurriedly shouted at the little Qilin. Ning Yu was not a fool. Although Lu Chuanji and Song Wu seemed to be opposing each other on the surface, Ning Yu knew very well that Lu Chuanji and Song Wu must have reached some kind of agreement. Song Wu needed to bring the little Qilin to the Pill Emperor City, so the ownership of the little Qilin would definitely belong to him. As for everything else, it would probably be given to Lu Chuanji. Actually, this was what Ning Yu was most worried about. Lu Chuanji and Song Wu were both at the peak of the sage realm, so they could continue to oppose each other. Once the two of them joined forces, it would be an extravagant hope to continue to drag on. Bring Zhang Shui here. Ning Yu forced himself to calm down and said in a deep voice, If Song Wu dares to continue to attack, kill Zhang Shui for me. Whoosh! Ning Lu grabbed Zhang Shui's head, threw it to the ground, and stepped on it. You can't catch the wolf without sacrificing the child. Song Wu was close to going crazy. In front of the Qilin, he naturally did not care about a mere late sage realm Zhang Shui. Crack! Seeing that Song Wu had no intention of stopping, Ning Lu made a prompt decision and stomped his right foot hard. A crisp sound was heard. Zhang Shui couldn't understand why. Song Wu clearly had the chance to save him, so why was he so ruthless? Split up. For Song Wu and Lu Chuanji, since their plan had been seen through by Ningyu, they would not be able to speed up if they continued to work together. On the contrary, they would slow down their pace. Therefore, they immediately split up. Song Wu rushed towards the little Qilin, while Lu Chuanji rushed towards Gu Yan and Xiun. As for Jin Fei, he carefully retreated to the other side and chose to hide. Although the little Qilin, Gu Yan, and Xiun were stalled, Jin Fei could feel that Ning Lu, who had advanced to the peak of the Sky Supreme Realm, was already comparable to a late Sage Realm warrior. Coupled with An Haoping, who had the cold-looking man with him, Jin Fei would probably become a live target if he appeared in Ning Yu's sight again. In order to survive, Jin Fei did not dare to stay in the same place. "Where are you going?" However, after killing Zhang Shui, Ning Lu's attention instantly shifted to Jing Fei. Now that Jing Fei wanted to escape, he naturally couldn't hide it from Ning Lu's eyes. With a roar, Ning Lu raised his speed to the limit and dashed toward Jin Fei in an instant. Previously, Ning Lu's cultivation was low, so even if he wanted to deal with Jin Fei, he couldn't do anything. Now that the opportunity had come, how could Ning Lu let go of such a good opportunity? Rumble! Ning Lu's speed was very fast. In almost an instant, he arrived in front of Jin Fei. A loud explosion was heard. Following this, the battle between Ning Lu and Jin Fei took place. An Haoping, go and help Xiun and the rest. Ning Yu stared at the battlefield of Ning Lu and Jin Fei. Then he looked away and said in a low voice, "Zhang Chang, go to the depths of the fairy crystal lode and see if the teleportation formation is still usable." Whoosh! Whoosh! Hearing Ning Yu's order, An Haoping and Zhang Chang didn't dare to be slow. They dashed out in two different directions. The reason why An Haoping went to help Xiun and the rest was because Xiun and Gu Yan couldn't contend with a pinnacle sacred realm cultivator. If they didn't have any external help, the two of them would definitely be the first to be defeated. Gu Yan was a late-stage sacred realm pellet puppet. His overall strength wasn't weak. Xiun was a mid-stage sacred realm pellet puppet. Her battle strength wasn't any weaker than Gu Yan. In fact, she might even be slightly stronger than Gu Yan. As for An Haoping, he was a peerless expert of the demon spirit realm and clan. If the three of them worked together, they could at least delay Song Wu for 10 minutes. If they could delay Song Wu for 10 minutes, the situation on the little Qilin's side wasn't as optimistic. Firstly, the little Qilin's cultivation was only in the mid-stage sacred realm. Secondly, Lu Chuanji wasn't as strong as Song Wu. "I have to find a way." Ning Yu moved his feet left and right with a sinister expression on his face. Everyone could understand the current situation. They definitely couldn't drag it out. Whichever side couldn't hold on first would be the first to be defeated. No matter how he looked at it, the little Qilin and the rest would be defeated first. The teleportation array can still be used, but it requires at least 20 immortal crystals. Just when Ning Yu was thinking about how to resolve the current predicament, Zhang Chang's voice suddenly entered his ears. Ning Yu was slightly taken aback by the voice that came into his ears. Then, he revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. Since 20 immortal crystals could activate the teleportation array, then Ning Yu might as well take a gamble and enter the teleportation array to reach the Pill Emperor City. Even if the other end of the teleportation array was within the Pill Emperor City, Ning Yu could use his powerful soul force to disrupt the direction of the teleportation array and teleport himself to another direction. Spatial turbulence. As matters stood, Ning Yu had already decided to trigger the spatial turbulence. For all the teleportation arrays, the one thing that they didn't want to encounter the most was spatial turbulence. If they were to encounter the spatial turbulence in the teleportation array, it wouldn't bode well for them. However, no matter how dangerous it was in the spatial turbulence, it wasn't half as dangerous as staying here. Zhao Guoqing, go to the Square restaurant and inform Grandmaster Xing Yun and the rest. Tell them that those who want to go to the Pill Emperor City can set off now. Those who don't want to go can return to the Thousand Leaf Empire first. Regarding the matter of Supreme Palace, Ning Yu didn't tell Zhao Guoqing. However, Ning Yu knew that even if he didn't reveal Supreme Palace, Grandmaster Xing Yun would be able to analyze some things from a few words. Leave it to me. Zhang Guoqing patted his chest and guaranteed, I will definitely pass the news to Grandmaster Xing Yun accurately. If others fought fiercely, Zhang Guoqing would be no different from cannon fodder if he stayed. Therefore, Zhao Guoqing couldn't wait to leave. Now that there was such a good opportunity to leave and he wouldn't be threatened by Ning Yu, Zhao Guoqing was naturally very excited. Swoosh! With a flash, Zhao Guoqing hurriedly tore the void and disappeared. The other 3 battlefields had already reached the climax. At this time, Zhao Guoqing's departure naturally wouldn't attract their attention. I advise you to be more obedient. Otherwise, I won't be polite, Song Wu said coldly after forcing the little Qilin back with a move. I want to see how you will be rude to me. The little Qilin revealed a disdainful look and said, Your strength isn't much stronger than mine. You want to capture me alive? Dream on. Even if you don't think for yourself, you should think for Ning Yu. Song Wu knew that what the little Qilin said was not without reason. The current him indeed found it difficult to capture the little Qilin alive. However, just because it was difficult to capture it alive didn't mean that it couldn't be captured alive. In a blink of an eye, Song Wu's figure flashed out and charged straight at Ning Yu. Moreover, in the process of advancing, Song Wu suddenly erupted with 3 terrifying auras. 3 auras attacked Ning Yu from 3 directions, leaving only Ning Yu's only escape route. Chapter 1817. At this time, Song Wu's intention to chase Ning Yu into the immortal crystal vein was already very clear. There was a teleportation array in the deepest part of the immortal crystal vein. No need to think, Song Wu definitely wanted to chase Ning Yu to the teleportation array. Song Wu's thinking was very simple. As long as he chased Ning Yu to the teleportation array, little Qilin would definitely follow. Second, at that time, he could suddenly activate the teleportation array and bring Ning Yu and little Qilin away. The other end of the teleportation array was located inside the Pill Emperor City's Alchemy Union. Here, due to Lu Chuanji eyeing covetously from the side, Song Wu did not dare to really use his full strength to capture little Qilin alive. It was better to be safe than sorry. If little Qilin resisted with all its might and used some super strong trump card to injure him, the one who would benefit in the end would probably be Lu Chuanji. Don't look at how he and Lu Chuanji were currently in a cooperative relationship. Once one suffered injuries, the other would definitely hit him while he was down. Therefore, Song Wu wanted to activate the teleportation array and bring Ning Yu and little Qilin into the Pill Emperor City. Not good. Little Qilin had been fighting fiercely with Song Wu. Seeing that Song Wu turned to attack Ning Yu and wanted to chase Ning Yu to the deepest part of the immortal crystal vein, his expression immediately changed and he rushed out, wanting to save Ning Yu before he entered the teleportation array. Fight! However, little Qilin might have overlooked Song Wu's strength. Since Song Wu decided to chase Ning Yu to the teleportation array, he definitely made preparations to stop him. Swish! Suddenly, a scroll scurried out from Song Wu's body and rushed towards little Qilin with a terrifying speed. Damn it! Little Qilin originally rushed out with all its strength. Now that it was blocked by the scroll, it naturally slowed down a little. This time, little Qilin slowed down and directly pulled apart the distance between it and Song Wu. What should we do? Seeing Ning Yu being chased into the immortal crystal vein by Song Wu, Yun Mu revealed a worried expression and asked, What else can we do? Hurry up and pick up all the scattered immortal crystals, then we go over too. Old man Tianji said solemnly. We go over too? Yun Mu's mouth opened, feeling somewhat incredulous. Everyone knew that the other end of the teleportation array would be very dangerous. What was the difference between entering the teleportation array at this time and courting death? To be honest, Yun Mu didn't want to follow them. Don't say that I didn't warn you. Ningyu isn't a simple person. He won't do something he isn't confident in. After saying that, Old Man Tianji rushed towards the immortal crystal vein. Plunder the immortal crystals first. Yun Mu clenched his teeth and barked at the talisman's supremacy. Only by increasing my strength can I stand in an invincible position. Pucci. The actions of Yun Mu and Elder Tianji were only a small interlude. Lu Chuanji didn't feel much pressure facing Gu Yan, Ziyun, and Haoping and the rest by himself. The only thing that made Lu Chuanji feel a little troubled was the cold-looking man that An Haoping brought along. Although Lu Chuanji didn't believe that the cold-looking man would really blow himself up, he changed his mind when he saw Ningyu enter the Fairyland mineral vein. When Ningyu was around, the cold-looking man definitely wouldn't blow himself up. Now that Ningyu was rushing towards the Fairyland mineral vein, getting further and further away from him, who knew if the cold-looking man would blow himself up? Therefore, as Lu Chuanji fought, he slowly moved towards the Fairyland mineral vein. In the last battlefield, originally, Ning Lu had the upper hand against Jin Fei. In addition to Zhang Chang joining the battle, the balance was completely tilted towards Ning Lu. Jin Fei felt the pressure getting heavier. Where there's life, there's hope. Jin Fei wasn't a fool. With the current situation, there was no reason for him to stay. We'll meet again in the future. Since you've offended the Jin family, all of you shall die. Before leaving, Jin Fei didn't forget to leave behind a ruthless sentence. After that, Jin Fei forcefully tore through the void and entered. Due to the existence of the other two battlefields, Jin Fei believed that Ning Lu would definitely not chase after him. In the past, Ning Lu might not chase after Jin Fei. He would turn around and help Ningyu. But now, Ning Lu knew that even if he joined the other two battlefields, he wouldn't be of much help. It was better to get rid of Jin Fei completely. Lunatic. Feeling that Ning Lu was chasing after him desperately, Jin Fei couldn't help but shout. Wrong. If you had stayed and fought with me, I might not have killed you so early. Ning Lu tore through the void and blocked Jin Fei's way out. He said lightly, "Thank you for running away and giving me an opening." Impossible. Even if I ran away, I would never give you any opening. Jin Fei roared. Really? You can look behind you. Ning Lu shrugged and said, "Don't lie to me. I will never be fooled." Puff. Jin Fei said coldly. Before he finished his sentence, Jin Fei opened his mouth and suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Looking down at the small part of the sword that was sticking out of his heart, Jin Fei turned his head and looked behind him. When he saw the familiar face behind him, Jin Fei trembled and fell to the ground. Phew! Seeing that Zhang Chang had killed Jin Fei, Ning Lu let out a long breath and said, "Thank you. Give me his primordial spirit." Zhang Chang hesitated for a moment and then flicked his wrist and threw the flying sword to Ning Lu. At their level, when killing an enemy, the first thing they would do was to detain the enemy's primordial spirit. Originally, Zhang Chang wanted to use Jin Fei's primordial spirit to exchange for his own. But he knew that with only Jin Fei's primordial spirit, and Ning Lu being the main force in this battle, he probably wouldn't be able to gain Ning Yu's trust and exchange for freedom. But Ning Lu didn't care what Zhang Chang was thinking. He caught the flying sword and without saying anything, he swallowed Jin Fei's primordial spirit on the spot. Seeing that Ning Lu had swallowed Jin Fei's primordial spirit, Zhang Chang opened his mouth and his eyeballs almost fell out of his eye sockets. He had seen others swallowing primordial spirits before, but he had never seen it like this. Burp! After swallowing Jin Fei's primordial spirit, Ning Lu didn't forget to burp and pat his stomach in satisfaction. Not bad, not bad. After advancing to the pinnacle of Sky Supreme, my devouring ability has increased by quite a bit. Ning Lu was the World Tree. At its peak, the World Tree could swallow anything. Ning Lu was confident that his devouring ability was probably much stronger than the Dark Emperor's. He shook his head and got rid of these thoughts in his mind. Ning Lu knew that now wasn't the time to think about these things. Since Ning Yu had gone to the deepest part of the celestial crystal vein, he had to go there too. Ning Yu had asked him about the celestial crystal vein before. Even though part of the reason for entering the celestial crystal vein now was because of Song Wu's coercion, Ning Lu knew that Ning Yu definitely wanted to enter the celestial crystal vein himself. Activate the teleportation array. This was the escape route that Ning Yu had thought of from the start. Of course, this method was the best method out of all other methods. It was a desperate measure. Ning Lu felt that Ning Yu was definitely prepared. He planned to activate the teleportation array at all costs and have a good fight with Song Wu and the others in the void. Chapter 1818. Swoosh. In the dilapidated Immortal Crystal Mine, several figures were galloping. The three figures at the front were Ning Yu, Song Wu, and Little Qilin. The few figures in the middle were Lu Chuanji, Gu Yan, and the rest. As for the few people at the back, they were Ning Lu, Old Man Tianji, and the rest. Don't push it too hard. Song Wu turned around to look at the Little Qilin behind him, then looked at Ning Yu in front of him and muttered. Song Wu's original intention was to activate the teleportation array and bring Ning Yu and Little Qilin to Alchemy Emperor City. But the current situation was not optimistic for Song Wu. First of all, Lu Chuanji was at the back and he might cause trouble. Secondly, activating the teleportation array required 20 immortal crystals and 3 minutes. Delay for 3 minutes? Song Wu did not have this confidence. Therefore, Song Wu purposely slowed down. He didn't even mind exchanging blows with the Little Qilin to slow down his speed. From Ning Yu's actions, Song Wu saw some clues. In other words, Song Wu was basically sure that Ning Yu would find a way to activate the teleportation array. Since Ning Yu would activate the teleportation array, why not? Rumble. The Immortal Crystal Mine was already very dilapidated, and now that Song Wu and Little Qilin were engaged in an intense battle, no one knew how long the mine could last. Under such circumstances, Little Qilin and Song Wu lowered their attack power at almost the same time. What the hell are they doing? The intense battle between Song Wu and Little Qilin naturally did not escape Lu Chuanji's eyes. Especially when he saw that Song Wu and Little Qilin did not use their full strength, Lu Chuanji became puzzled. Outside the mine, the two of them were fighting to the death. Why did it seem like they had discussed it in the mine? Lu Chuanji was very puzzled. Of course, it was natural that Lu Chuanji would feel puzzled. After all, he did not know that there was a teleportation array in the mine. If he knew that there was a teleportation array in the mine, he would definitely speed up and rush up to destroy it. To Lu Chuanji, he needed everyone downstairs except Little Qilin. If the teleportation array was activated with Song Wu's character, he would probably drag everyone present into the teleportation array. 20 immortal crystals. After traveling at full speed, Ning Yu finally arrived at the deepest part of the immortal crystal vein. Right in front of Ning Yu was a huge round millstone. Based on his initial estimation, the round millstone could fit at least a few dozen people. Upon closer inspection, one would see a groove on each of the 4 edges of the round millstone. The design of the groove was very ingenious. It was neither too big nor too small, just the same size as an immortal crystal. Without a doubt, in order to activate this seemingly simple teleportation array, one would need to prepare at least 20 immortal crystals. Where are we going to get 20 fairy crystals? Ning Yu stared at the grooves on the edge of the millstone with a solemn look on his face. 20 immortal crystals might not seem like a lot, but it wasn't anything difficult for Ningyu in the past. But now, 20 celestial crystals were enough to make Ningyu helpless. If I had known, I would have grabbed a few immortal crystals on the way here. Ningyu's eyes darted around as he thought of a countermeasure. Without immortal crystals, no matter how capable he was, he wouldn't be able to activate the teleportation array. How troublesome! Song Wu, who was fighting fiercely with the little Qilin, was constantly paying attention to Ningyu's movements. Seeing that Ningyu was standing in front of the round millstone without moving, Song Wu wished he could go over and activate the teleportation array himself. However, Song Wu knew that Ningyu could activate the teleportation array without any problems, but he couldn't. After thinking about it, Song Wu decided to pretend to be hit by the little Qilin. At the same time, a storage bag accidentally flew out of his sleeve, and the storage bag happened to contain 20 immortal crystals. Song Wu was a practical person and did what he said. He immediately revealed a flaw to the little Qilin. Poof! The little Qilin was very cooperative. It grabbed onto Song Wu's flaw and attacked Song Wu's back. Swoosh! A huge force came from his back, causing Song Wu to taste sweetness in his throat as his body fell straight forward. It was just as Song Wu thought. When his body fell forward, a storage bag suddenly flew out of his sleeve. The direction of the storage bag happened to be where Ningyu was. Piak! Seeing a storage bag flying towards him, Ningyu didn't hesitate too much as he raised his right hand and grabbed the storage bag firmly. 20 immortal crystals? After discovering that there were a total of 20 immortal crystals in the storage bag, Ningyu secretly became cautious. There were too many coincidences in the world. However, a coincidence like Song Wu's was indeed rare. Activating the teleportation array required 20 immortal crystals, and there were 20 immortal crystals in the storage bag that Song Wu threw out. Let's activate the teleportation array first. Ningyu gritted his teeth and decided to activate the teleportation array first. Only by activating the teleportation array would he have a way out and a chance of survival. Otherwise, if he were to waste time here, there wouldn't be any way out at all. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. With a thought, Ningyu opened the storage bag and poured out all 20 immortal crystals into the grooves around the millstone. The 20 immortal crystals entered the grooves. At first, they all lay flat in the grooves without any changes. 2 minutes passed and there were still no changes to the immortal crystals. Even Ningyu felt that he might have been cheated. Chi. However, just as the thought appeared in Ningyu's mind, he heard a few crisp sounds. Needless to say, the sounds came from the immortal crystals that were thrown into the grooves 2 minutes ago. Chi. The shocking scene of 20 immortal crystals making sounds at the same time shocked Ningyu. 1 more minute. The immortal crystals had worked. The happiest person wasn't Ningyu but Song Wu. At this moment, Song Wu was extremely excited. He was so excited that he almost jumped up. The teleportation array was activated and Ningyu and little Qilin were attracted to the millstone. Then, they went through the teleportation array together to Pill Emperor City. It had to be said that Song Wu's entire plan was perfect, so perfect that it was almost flawless. However, Song Wu neglected one thing. He was not the only one who wanted to activate the teleportation array. Ningyu also wanted to activate it. Song Wu knew that there was still 1 minute before the teleportation array would be completely activated. Ningyu also knew that. Song Wu only hoped that only 2 or 3 people knew, but Ningyu hoped that everyone present knew that the teleportation array was about to be activated. Although in the space, whoever had the stronger soul force had the advantage, nothing was absolute. For example, Song Wu. Although the strength of Song Wu's soul force was not as strong as Ningyu's, in the space, Ningyu might not be able to compete with Song Wu head-on by relying on the strength of peak level 9 soul force. He might even be schemed against by Song Wu. However, with Lu Chuanji it was different. Lu Chuanji and Song Wu were on opposite sides. It was basically impossible for him to help Song Wu. Therefore, if Ningyu wanted Lu Chuanji to come forward to help, he must at least be able to check and balance Song Wu. Chapter 18-19. Humph. I've played enough. Next, it's your time of death. Song Wu snorted coldly and immediately forced the little Qilin to retreat. He then turned and charged towards Ningyu. Song Wu saw through it more clearly. As long as he attacked Ningyu, then the little Qilin would definitely go over to help. And at that time, he could just lure the little Qilin to the millstone, then activate the teleportation array and leave together. Ziyun and Haoping, hurry up and come over. The teleportation array is about to be activated. Ningyu didn't know what Song Wu was thinking in his heart. But he was very clear that he must pull Lu Chuanji along at this time. So when he saw Song Wu charging towards him, he hurriedly cried out, "Swish!" This roar from Ningyu made Lu Chuanji immediately understood. Teleportation array. Lu Chuanji was so angry that his face turned sinister. He had already discussed with Song Wu. The little Qilin belonged to Song Wu, and everything else belonged to him. Now that Song Wu actually wanted to bring Ningyu away without telling him, how could he tolerate it? Since he couldn't tolerate it, then Lu Chuanji forcefully pushed Ziyun and the rest away and charged towards Song Wu with an extremely terrifying speed. "What the hell are you doing?" Looking at Lu Chuanji, who was close to going crazy, Song Wu's pupils shrank and he hurriedly said, "I will only bring the little Qilin away. Ningyu will definitely be left for you. Don't think that I'm a fool. It's already come to this. Do you think that I will still believe you?" Lu Chuanji said sinisterly as he sped. "If you're sensible, quickly throw Ningyu over. Otherwise, I'll show you. There's still the last 30 seconds. No matter what, we have to hold on." At the most crucial moment, Song Wu naturally wouldn't hand over Ningyu. He took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "Lu Chuanji, if you insist on making trouble, then no one can leave today. If I can't leave, then I can't leave. Would I be afraid of you?" Lu Chuanji had already made up his mind. Other than the little Qilin, everything belonged to him. Song Wu wanted to bring Ningyu away? No way. I can keep Ningyu here. Seeing that the teleportation array was getting closer and closer to activation, Song Wu finally couldn't take it anymore and coldly said, "But you have to leave with Ningyu now." As he spoke, Song Wu's figure flashed and he reached out to grab Ningyu. Song Wu's action stunned everyone present, including Lu Chuanji. Give up Ningyu? Would Song Wu really do that? Lu Chuanji didn't believe it, the little Qilin didn't believe it, and even Elder Tianji and Ning Lu didn't believe it. Therefore, when Song Wu charged at Ningyu, the Elder of Heavenly Secrets, Ning Lu, and the others executed their secret techniques and charged at the millstone. Voila! As expected. Everyone was right. If Song Wu wanted to give up on Ningyu, he would have done so long ago. Why would he wait until now? On the surface, Song Wu rushed towards Ningyu, wanting to grab Ningyu and throw him to Lu Chuanji. In reality, Song Wu was still stalling for time. 30 seconds passed in the blink of an eye. Song Wu had just come to Ningyu's side when the millstone started to shake. The millstone shook faster and faster. In the end, there was even a crack in the void. A huge light beam shot out from the void and shone on the millstone. Crack, crack, crack. When the light beam shone on the millstone, the immortal crystals in the grooves at the edge of the millstone turned into powder. The energy within the immortal crystals all gathered at the center of the millstone. Immediately after, the millstone started to spin and the speed of spinning became faster and faster, so fast that it couldn't be seen with the naked eye. Not good, the teleportation array is about to activate. The sudden change not only shocked Lu Chuanji, but even the expression of Ningyu in the millstone changed drastically. Ningyu's original intention was to get everyone into the teleportation array and fight Song Wu in the core of the teleportation array. But in the current situation, only he and little Qilin entered the teleportation array. He and Little Kylan might not be Song Wu's match in the teleportation array even if they joined forces. Come out for me. In a moment of desperation, Ningyu took a deep breath. A terrifying soul force burst out from his body. You're crazy. Feeling the horrifying soul force emanating from Ningyu's body, Song Wu's entire person became unwell. The teleportation array's activation was most afraid of spatial instability, and the strength of Ningyu's soul force reached peak grade 9 realm. Once he stirred up trouble sincerely, the consequences would be too ghastly to imagine. Teleporting in space, spatial turbulence was one of the scariest situations. Song Wu could virtually conclude that as long as Ningyu kept using his soul force, then the probability of them encountering spatial turbulence would greatly increase. I'm not crazy. You're the crazy one. Ningyu took a look at Song Wu, then instructed Little Kylan, be sure to stop Song Wu. Swoosh. Little Kylan understood and immediately surged with fighting spirit. Looking at Little Kylan's stance, as long as Song Wu dared to make a move against Ningyu, it would launch an attack at the first instance. At the beginning of the teleportation array's activation, the most terrifying thing was the spatial instability. Ningyu displaying his soul force already made the space extremely unstable. It could be imagined, if Little Kylan and Song Wu fought fiercely again, what kind of state would the space become? Lunatics, you're all lunatics. Song Wu could only say a few harsh words verbally. He did not dare to make a move himself, but Song Wu was not particularly worried either. He believed that after the teleportation array left Four Corner City, Ningyu and Little Kylan would definitely stop, because at that time, if the two of them continued to do so, it was completely seeking their own deaths. Let you guys, no good. Song Wu's expression was cold as he muttered. However, the words in Song Wu's mouth had yet to finish when his expression changed drastically. The teleportation array was activated, but they did not leave this place. The millstone was still spinning rapidly. Furthermore, a horrifying spatial tearing force shot out from the millstone. The horrifying tearing force pulled everyone in the entire immortal crystal coal mine in. Gu Yen, Xiun, Unhaoping, the cold-looking man, Yun Mu, Old Man Tianji, the talisman supremacy, Ning Lu, Zhang Chang, and even the strongest, Lu Chuanji, were sucked into the millstone by the huge tearing force. Rumble. Everything came and went quickly. The space split open and the millstone spun rapidly. Before long, it burrowed into the void and disappeared. At the same time, Elixir Emperor City, Elixir Refinement Union. Outside a room that was not particularly eye-catching, two martial artists were pacing back and forth. Bang! All of a sudden, a muffled sound came from the room. Hearing the muffled sound, the slightly older martial artist outside the room was overjoyed and hurriedly said to the other martial artist, "Hurry and inform Master Gong Yang. Tell him that Song Wu has already caught Qilin and activated the teleportation array. He'll be back in a few days." Alright. The other martial artist was equally overjoyed and hurriedly left to inform Master Gong Yang. Wu Ji, Kong Mo. The older martial artist was called Kong Mo, a late-stage sage. The martial artist who left was called Wu Ji, a mid-stage sage. Ever since Song Wu left through the teleportation array with Zhao Xing and Zhang Shui, the two of them had been guarding here. Their mission was very simple. Before the teleportation array was activated again, they had to prevent anyone from approaching this place. Chapter 1820. The distance between Pill Emperor City and Four Corner City was not particularly close. Normally, even a sage-level martial artist would need to spend a few days to reach Pill Emperor City from Four Corner City. However, it would be different if there was a teleportation array. The internal structure of the teleportation array was rather special. It would only take 3 to 4 hours at most to travel from Four Corner City to Pill Emperor City. At this time, in the void passage between Four Corner City and Pill Emperor City, a huge round millstone was advancing rapidly. Looking closely, one could see that there were about 10 martial artists on the millstone. These martial artists were divided into 3 camps. 2 peak sage martial artists occupied 1 camp each, while the rest of the martial artists occupied the 3rd camp. That's right, these people were none other than Ning Yu and the others who had activated the teleportation array to leave Four Corner City. Just as Ning Yu had guessed, Song Wu and Lu Chuanji did not dare to forcefully attack the speeding millstone in the teleportation array. Everyone knew that if they forcefully attacked at this time, it was very likely to cause instability in the space, and there might even be spatial turbulence. The speed of the teleportation array was so fast that if there were spatial turbulence now, everyone would not have an easy time. Song Wu, you have to give me an explanation for this matter. After a full half an hour of silence, Lu Chuanji said in a deep voice, "Tell me where the other end of the teleportation array is. Is there anyone waiting for us after we leave the teleportation array?" Of course. Without waiting for Song Wu to answer, Ning Yu shrugged and said, "The other end of the teleportation array is located inside the Pill Emperor City's Alchemy Union. If I'm not wrong, there should be no less than 10 sage-level martial artists guarding the other end of the teleportation array." Ka. Hearing Ning Yu's words, Lu Chuanji's entire face became gloomy. If it was really as Ning Yu said, then even if he could successfully leave the teleportation array, he was destined to be captured. Although Lu Chuanji was very confident in his strength, this was not a high-level plane, but the immortal spirit realm. In the immortal spirit realm, he might be able to easily deal with 1, 2, or even 13 peak sage-level martial artists. However, what if there were 10 martial artists at the peak of the sage realm blocking his path? Therefore, Lu Chuanji clenched his fists and stared at Song Wu fiercely. "I hope you'll tell me the truth. Otherwise, we'll all die here." As he spoke, Lu Chuanji unleashed his powerful aura, which spread out in all directions. Voila! Lu Chuanji had the cultivation of a peak sage. His powerful aura directly caused the already unstable space to tremble. Song Wu's expression was also very ugly. He was very clear that if he allowed Lu Chuanji to continue like this, space turbulence would definitely appear in the end. There were still around 3 hours before they arrived at the Pill Emperor City. If a spatial turbulence appeared at this time, all of them would be finished. Taking a deep breath, Song Wu said hurriedly, "Don't listen to Ning Yu's nonsense. The other end of the teleportation formation is outside the Imperial Pill City. It's about a few dozen miles away from the city." "Are you sure?" Lu Chuanji looked at Song Wu suspiciously. "Of course, why would I lie to you? What good would it do me to lie to you?" Song Wu first nodded his head, then asked, "My goal is the Kirin, and your goal is the Dan puppet and the ethereal body. We can totally cooperate. As the saying goes, if we work together, both sides will benefit, but if we don't play dumb with me. I wanted to cooperate with you, but you just had to scheme against me. Can you blame me for that?" Lu Chuanji waved his hand, interrupting the monster's words, and said, "In any case, don't talk nonsense. As long as I'm sure that the other end of the teleportation array is outside the Pill Emperor City, then the cooperation between us can continue. Anytime." Song Wu smiled faintly, as if he had everything planned out. Little did they know. When Lu Chuanji retracted his aura, Song Wu's entire body almost collapsed. For Song Wu, the one who gave him the most pressure was not Ning Yu, but Lu Chuanji. After all, Lu Chuanji's cultivation level was the same as his. They were both at the peak of the Saint Realm. Only when Lu Chuanji gave up going against him could he wholeheartedly deal with Ning Yu, completely defeat Ning Yu, and make Ning Yu never have a chance to rise again. "Ning Yu, let's talk, how about it?" After dealing with Lu Chuanji, Song Wu immediately shifted his gaze to Ning Yu, and said indifferently, There's actually no great enmity between us. How do you want to talk? Ningyu said without batting an eyelid. Very simple. Open your mind and let me control you, Songwoo said. Idiot. Ningyu stared at Songwoo, and finally threw down these two words. Swoosh. Hearing Ningyu's words, Songwoo's expression instantly darkened. Don't refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Songwoo said fiercely, without Lu Chuanji's help, do you really think you can do anything to me? I'm very sorry, I don't want to do anything to you. Ningyu's expression was calm and he said, I'll give you two choices. 1. Find a way to stop the teleportation array. 2. I trigger the space turbulence, and everyone dies together. These words of Ningyu not only made Songwoo's expression change greatly, but even Lu Chuanji, who wanted to stay out of this matter, had a solemn expression. No matter what, triggering the space turbulence was something that nobody was willing to do. Since that was the case, then there was only one solution left. Stop the teleportation array. However, stopping such a fast teleportation array was terrifyingly difficult. At the very least, it was impossible for Songwoo to do it alone. Lu Chuanji's gaze moved, sweeping across everyone. After a while, Lu Chuanji roughly came to a conclusion. In order to stop the teleportation array, everyone on the millstone had to exert their strength, and it had to be at full strength. Putting aside whether Songwoo would help, even if Songwoo was willing to help, there would only be a 50% success rate in the end. In other words, do your best and leave the rest to fate. This kind of feeling made Lu Chuanji very displeased. In fact, Lu Chuanji even felt a little regretting following into the immortal crystal or vein, regretting entering the teleportation array. There's no way to stop the teleportation array. Songwoo's chest heaved up and down as he said in a cold voice. It could be seen that Songwoo was not willing to the two methods. I'm fine with it. Ningyu did not care whether Songwoo compromised or not. His original intention was to give Songwoo pressure, making Songwoo place his attention on him. Of the two methods, the first one that Ningyu thought of was to stop the teleportation array as soon as possible. But Ningyu would not rely on his own strength to stop the teleportation array, but secretly let little Qilin contact Lu Chuanji. Ningyu believed that Lu Chuanji definitely did not wish for the teleportation array to stop inside the Pill Emperor city. As long as little Qilin could reach an agreement with Lu Chuanji, they had a 30% chance of stopping the teleportation array in advance by joining hands. Chapter 1821. Master Gong Yang. Ningyu's indifferent expression made Songwoo feel very uneasy in his heart. Not knowing why, Songwoo always felt that Ningyu's calmness was a little scary. A martial artist who could be calm and collected in the face of spatial turbulence, even those peerless geniuses of high-class existential planes might not be able to do so. Hence, Songwoo hurriedly executed a secret technique, wanting to contact Gong Yang Qing in advance. Honestly speaking, it would be a lie to not be worried on the surface. In fact, in Songwoo's heart, he was really worried that Ningyu would trigger spatial turbulence. How terrifying spatial turbulence was, Songwoo was clearer than Ningyu and the rest. Because when in high-class existential planes, Songwoo had once encountered spatial turbulence. At that time, if not for others' help, Songwoo would probably have perished in the void. Now that Ningyu was going to trigger spatial turbulence, how could Songwoo not be worried? How could he not be afraid? However, fear and worry, Songwoo could not show these things. He wanted to give Ningyu a false impression that he was very calm. Life was like a play, it all depended on acting skills. Whoever's acting skills were the most likely to be the winner. Damn it! However, Songwoo forgot one thing. Lu Chuanji was here. Both having peak sage cultivation, any small movements of his would definitely not be able to hide from Lu Chuanji's eyes. Wanting to hide from Lu Chuanji and inform Gong Yangqing was even more difficult than stopping the teleportation formation in advance. I have to think of a way. Song Wu's eyes moved, thinking of countermeasures hurriedly. Song Wu was very clear that Ningyu would definitely not wait much longer. At most an hour, maybe half an hour, Ningyu would trigger spatial turbulence. Although he said that he did not believe that Ningyu would trigger spatial turbulence, in Song Wu's heart, he very much believed that Ningyu would do such a foolish thing. On the huge millstone, Song Wu was thinking of countermeasures. Ningyu could trigger spatial turbulence at any time, and little Qilin and Lu Chuanji were secretly contacting each other. Cooperating with Lu Chuanji was undoubtedly asking a tiger for its skin. But now, Ningyu had no choice but to cooperate with Lu Chuanji. If they worked together, both sides would benefit. If they didn't, when the teleportation array stopped in the Alchemy Emperor City, everyone would be finished. Therefore, the negotiation between little Qilin and Lu Chuanji, other than the process being a little slow, everything was still considered to be smooth. Drip, drip. Time flew by quickly. In the blink of an eye, half an hour had passed. In this half an hour, little Qilin and Lu Chuanji had already reached some sort of agreement. As for Song Wu, he was a little overwhelmed. First of all, Song Wu had no way of contacting Gong Yangqing. Secondly, Song Wu felt that Ningyu could not hold it in any longer. My patience is limited. At this moment, Ningyu's eyes suddenly shone with a cold light, shooting fiercely towards another part of the void. Rumble. Although the cold gleam that shot out of Ningyu's eyes wasn't very powerful, it still caused a loud boom when it collided with the void. Since you're not willing to stop the teleportation array in advance, then let's all die together. Ningyu's face turned cold, shooting out several cold gleams again. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. This time, 3 cold gleams swept out in unison, blasting at the same place at the same time. Rumble. A loud sound was heard. The space gradually became unstable. At this rate, in a few minutes at most, space turbulence would form. Stop! Song Wu's face changed greatly, and he hurriedly berated, "If you want to die, don't drag me down with you." "Sorry, I don't want to die, you forced me." Ningyu shrugged, his eyes shooting out a few cold gleams again, blasting towards the void. "If you continue like this, I'm going to make a move," Song Wu said fiercely. Make a move. With you and little Qilin fighting, I'm afraid space turbulence will appear in advance. Ningyu smiled faintly, and at the same time, he released his soul force. Purely using Yuan Qi cold gleams to trigger space turbulence might require some time. But, Ningyu released his soul force, using peak grade 9 soul force to trigger space turbulence. It could shorten the time by at least half. In other words, in a minute or two at most, space turbulence would appear. Lunatic, really a lunatic. Song Wu's entire person became unwell. The experience of space turbulence, he did not want to experience it a second time. "I'm willing." In a moment of desperation, Song Wu shouted. Facing death, Song Wu chose to compromise. "Wouldn't it be better if you were willing earlier?" Ningyu withdrew his Yuan Qi and soul force and said coolly, "I also don't want to trigger space turbulence. I have a condition," Song Wu said coldly. "The teleportation array can stop in advance, but it must stop outside Alchemy Emperor City." Ningyu lifted his head and looked at Song Wu, pondered for a moment and nodded, saying, "You can stop outside Alchemy Emperor City, I have no objections." "That's good." Song Wu let out a long sigh. Actually, Song Wu was very worried. He was worried that Ningyu would not agree to let the teleportation array stop outside Alchemy Emperor City. Because once the teleportation array stopped prematurely, then he really had no way to explain to Gong Yangqing. But if the teleportation array stopped outside Alchemy Emperor City, then he could have a reasonable explanation. For example, someone leaked the news, letting those powerhouses in Alchemy Emperor City seize the opportunity and intercept the teleportation array in advance. After all, a living Qilin still had a very great attraction to the powerhouses who descended from high-order planes. Everybody attacked together. Song Wu waved both hands repeatedly and shouted loudly at the same time, "Don't think about holding back! If anyone dares to not use full power, when the space turbulence appears, everyone will die." Song Wu was the first to cast a mystic art, wanting to make the teleportation array's speed slow down. As for Lu Chuanji, Little Qilin, and even Ning Lu, they were in charge of maintaining the millstone's stability. Forcing the teleportation array to stop was not a small matter. It could not be completed in a short time. Preliminary estimates, starting from now, forcing the teleportation array to stop at full power also needed at least 1 to 2 hours time. And 1 to 2 hours just happened to be the time when the teleportation array reached Alchemy Emperor City. Be careful, don't be tricked by Song Wu and Lu Chuanji. Ning Yu secretly contacted Little Qilin, telling it to be careful. Martial artists who could cultivate to the peak of sage, which one was easy to deal with. Song Wu was not, and neither was Lu Chuanji. Be careful of Song Wu, be careful of Lu Chuanji. This was a must, there could not be any mistakes. Don't worry, I know what to do. Ever since it advanced to the mid-stage sage, Little Qilin not only increased its strength, but even its way of doing things had become more stable. Sometimes, Little Qilin handled things like a scheming and far-sighted person. I wonder if Human Demon is in Alchemy Emperor City. Ning Yu knew that when the teleportation array stopped, there would be a storm. Lu Chuanji and Song Wu both had peak sage cultivation, and they both came from high-order planes. Among them, Lu Chuanji was the young master of Sacred God Palace. If they said they did not have a trump card, Ning Yu would not believe it even if he was beaten to death. According to Ning Yu's guess, once the teleportation array stopped, Lu Chuanji and Song Wu would attack. Chapter 1822. Chi. In the void, Song Wu was desperately trying to reduce the speed of the millstone, while Lu Chuanji, Little Qilin, and the rest were maintaining the stability of the millstone. Although Song Wu was giving it his all, the millstone was still very fast. 1.5 hours. Ning Yu secretly calculated the time. According to Ning Yu's observation, the teleportation array would be forced to stop after 1.5 hours. If there were no accidents, the teleportation array would stop outside the Pill Emperor City, not too far from the city. To be honest, Ning Yu did not want the teleportation array to stop outside the Pill Emperor City. Because the Pill Emperor City was very unfamiliar to him, and he knew nothing about the dangers there. People were afraid of the unknown. But Ning Yu knew that he had no other choice but to wait quietly. Drip, drip, drip. Time was ticking away. As time passed, the vitality of everyone on the millstone began to decrease. Especially Tianji Lauren, Yun Mu, and the rest, because their cultivation was lower, it did not take long for their vitality to be exhausted. Gu Yan, Ziyun, Anhaoping, and Zhang Chang, the few sage-level martial artists, also had their vitality depleted and could no longer hold on. And now, only 1 hour had passed since they started to force the teleportation array to stop. In other words, they had to hold on for at least half an hour. If they couldn't hold on for half an hour, they might fail at the last step. It didn't matter if they failed at the last step. The key was that once they could no longer hold on, the space would be extremely distorted, and there might even be a spatial storm that was more terrifying than the spatial turbulence. Compared to the spatial turbulence, the spatial storm was even more terrifying. If they had a chance of survival in the spatial turbulence, then they would all die in the spatial storm. Damn it! Turning his head to look at Ziyun and the rest, Song Wu couldn't help cursing. Before the operation, Song Wu could not wait for them to exhaust their vitality. But now, Song Wu knew that he had no other choice but to take out immortal crystals and elixirs to help Xiun and the rest. Use them sparingly. Song Wu waved his sleeves and said coldly. Dozens of immortal crystals flew out from Song Wu's sleeves and landed in the hands of Xiun, Gu Yan, and the rest. Gotcha! After catching the immortal crystals, Xiun, Gu Yan, and the rest did not hesitate. They immediately threw the immortal crystals into their mouths and began to absorb and refine the immortal crystals. The possibility of a spatial storm erupting caused everyone on the millstone to huddle together. Xiao! With the immortal crystals, Xiun, Gu Yan, and the rest quickly became lively. A calamity was strangled in the cradle by Song Wu with immortal crystals before it could even happen. We still have half an hour. Song Wu's expression gradually calmed down. Song Wu knew that now was not the time to be angry. Xiun and Gu Yan had already replenished their essence qi. Therefore, they only needed half an hour before the teleportation array was forced to stop. When the teleportation array stopped, that would be the moment of the real battle. On the surface, Song Wu was wholeheartedly trying to reduce the speed of the millstone, but in reality, his attention had always been on Little Qilin and Lu Chuanji. To Song Wu, Lu Chuanji and Little Qilin posed the greatest threat to him. Song Wu had already thought of a countermeasure. Once the teleportation formation stopped, he would do two things. Firstly, he would inform Gong Yangqing to bring people over to help. Secondly, he would think of a way to capture Ning Yu and force Lu Chuanji away. It didn't matter if Little Qilin left, as long as he could capture Ning Yu. He wouldn't have to worry about Little Qilin not returning. But Lu Chuanji was different. Lu Chuanji's cultivation was at the pinnacle of the Sage Realm, and he also came from a higher plane. To be sent by Gong Yangqing to capture Little Qilin, it meant that Song Wu wasn't a fool. A pinnacle expert like Lu Chuanji might even have a high position in a higher plane. For such a person, if he didn't have absolute confidence in killing him, then there was no need to form a life and death enmity with him. Song Wu had even thought of it. If Lu Chuanji insisted on bringing Little Qilin away, then he could give Little Qilin to the other party. He only wanted Ning Yu. Half Cloud Mountain. It was located slightly north of the Pill Emperor City. With the speed of a sky sovereign, it would take at most 10 minutes to travel from Half Cloud Mountain to the Pill Emperor City. The shape of Half Cloud Mountain was very unique. The main peak towered into the clouds, and there were dozens of smaller mountains surrounding it. Half Cloud Mountain was rich in all sorts of herbs, and the wild beasts were abnormally ferocious. Therefore, cultivators with weak cultivations didn't dare to enter. Originally, Half Cloud Mountain was an ownerless mountain, and it didn't belong to any forces. But not long ago, the Alchemist Union suddenly announced that Half Cloud Mountain was the private property of the Alchemist Union. Without their permission, no one was allowed to take half a step into Half Cloud Mountain. When this news was announced, it caused a huge uproar. There were rumors that the reason why the Alchemist Union sealed off Half Cloud Mountain was because they lost a treasure. And the person who stole that treasure was hiding in Half Cloud Mountain. Of course, there wasn't just one rumor. Another rumor was that not long ago, the president of the Alchemist Union made a bet with a mysterious person and lost something to that mysterious person. But when the mysterious person left with that item, the president of the Alchemist Union suddenly went back on his words and sent out his most elite members to chase after that mysterious person. The mysterious person fled the entire way and finally stopped in Half Cloud Mountain. No matter what, there was a common point among the countless rumors. There was someone in Half Cloud Mountain, and it was someone wanted by the Alchemist Union. Crack. At the same time, in a secret chamber of the Alchemist Union of the Alchemist Emperor City, an old man stood up abruptly, and his right hand slammed on the chair he was sitting on. He looked around and said coldly, "Trash, I told you to look at something, but you can't even look at it. What did I tell you?" There were a total of 4 to 5 martial artists in the secret chamber. If there were people from the Alchemist Emperor City here, they would definitely notice that one of the martial artists was very familiar. It was the president of the Alchemist Union, Meng Chang'an. Meng Chang'an. The old man stared at Meng Chang'an and said in a deep voice, "I'll give you 3 more hours. If you don't find that item in 3 hours, I'll cripple you." "Yes." Meng Chang'an nodded his head heavily, and immediately left the secret chamber with the other 2 martial artists. "You said that Song Wu will be back soon?" After Meng Chang'an left, the old man finally relaxed a little. He turned around to look at the last martial artist in the secret chamber, and asked, "How much longer will it take for him to arrive here?" "Master Gong Yang, according to the feedback from the teleportation array, Song Wu and the rest will be back in about half an hour," Wu Ji hurriedly replied respectfully when he heard the old man's question. "Go, wait at the teleportation array." Gong Yang Qing waved his hand and said, "A living qilin is a top-notch medicinal ingredient for refining top-notch elixirs." As he spoke, Gong Yang Qing moved his feet and walked out of the secret chamber. However, when he reached the entrance of the secret chamber, Gong Yang Qing stopped. Chapter 1823. Half-Cloud Mountain, the highest main peak. All of a sudden, the void above the main peak suddenly split open. A streak of cold light charged towards the main peak with an extremely terrifying speed. Rumble! An earth-shattering loud noise transmitted out. For a moment, sand and stones flew everywhere, birds and beasts went berserk. What's going on? It's Half-Cloud Mountain. An explosion happened at Half-Cloud Mountain. A treasure was unearthed. Although Half-Cloud Mountain was very far from Alchemy Emperor City, Half-Cloud Mountain's main peak being smashed off at the waist still did not escape the perception of the numerous powerhouses in Alchemy Emperor City. As the saying went, the connoisseur understands the artistry, while the layman enjoys the show. Those who truly knew the inside story all could not help having a thought in their hearts. Meng Chang'an made a move against the mysterious person. The reason why Meng Chang'an wanted to seal off Half-Cloud Mountain was because the Alchemy Association lost an important item. And the person who stole that item, barring no accidents, was definitely hiding in Half-Cloud Mountain. Meng Chang'an had just brought the Alchemy Association's people and left Alchemy Emperor City, and Half-Cloud Mountain gave off such a loud rumbling sound. Even a fool would be able to guess what had happened. Swish, swish, swish. Regarding this matter, everyone's thoughts were different. Some people left Alchemy Emperor City, planning to go to Half-Cloud Mountain to watch the show. Some people continued to stay in Alchemy Emperor City and did not wish to get involved. Cough cough. What happened in Alchemy Emperor City, Ningyu did not know. Ningyu only knew that roughly 3 minutes ago, under everyone's concerted efforts, they finally forced the transmission array to stop. However, the transmission array stopped, but the millstone did not manage to stop in time. It forcefully collided onto a massive mountain peak. Brushing away the crushed rocks on his body, Ningyu slowly opened both eyes, his entire person becoming a little dazed. Where is this? Coughing dryly twice, Ningyu's gaze moved and started searching the surroundings. Ningyu had never come to Alchemy Emperor City before, so how far away from here to Alchemy Emperor City, he did not know. Among the martial artists who took the transmission array over, probably only Song Wu knew where this place was. In order to be able to find Ning Lu and Little Qilin as soon as possible, Ningyu even released his perception and soul force. Not good. However, no matter how Ningyu probed, he just could not find Song Wu. It could be said that apart from Song Wu, Ningyu had found everyone else. Even Lu Chuanji and Ningyu had detected his exact location. Only Song Wu seemed to have vanished into thin air, unable to be found no matter what. Ziyun, I'll have to trouble you to gather everyone. We have to leave this place as soon as possible. Ningyu was not an indecisive person. He made a prompt decision and decided to leave this place first. Since Song Wu had disappeared, it meant that it was extremely likely that he had gone to the Pill Emperor City to seek help. Once he returned, no one would have a good time. The most important thing now was to find a safe place as soon as possible and recover from his injuries. One had to know that although everyone did not suffer too serious of an injury after forcing the teleportation array to stop, they had expended too much of their essence energy. Right now, the essence chi in everyone's sea of consciousness was almost empty. At this time, the most important thing was to recover to his peak state as soon as possible. Otherwise, when Song Wu brought people over, everyone would die. Understood. Ziyun knew that now was not the time to be entangled with Ningyu. She immediately took action and gathered everyone together within a minute. Who knows where this is? Looking at everyone gathered together, Ningyu asked solemnly. Ningyu was very clear that leaving was not the main objective. Finding a safe place was of utmost importance. If they did not even know where this place was, then even if they left now, they could only scurry around like a headless fly. Half-Cloud Mountain. Tianji Lauren stared at the surroundings and said, "This is Half-Cloud Mountain. It's roughly a 10-minute journey from the Pill Emperor City." Roughly a 10-minute journey, huh? Ningyu frowned slightly, pondering what he should do next. Actually, in Ningyu's heart, there were two choices. First, everyone go to the Pill Emperor City together. Of course, going to the Pill Emperor City had the greatest risk, but the benefits were also the greatest. Because Song Wu would definitely not think that they would go to the Pill Emperor City. Second, everyone hide in this whatever Half-Cloud Mountain. Hiding in Half-Cloud Mountain, even if the risk was smaller, he was afraid that Song Wu would bring a large number of experts over to surround them. Rumble. Just as Ningyu was pondering, a rumbling sound suddenly rang out from afar. Hearing that, everyone immediately shifted their gazes over. What they saw caused everyone's expressions to change drastically. The one that caused the rumbling sound was none other than Lu Chuanji. No one knew what was wrong with Lu Chuanji. Not only did he not escape, he even made a big move. Ningyu's face was ashen. He could predict that it wouldn't be long before all the experts from the Pill Emperor City would rush over. Because of the commotion caused by Lu Chuanji, it was as if some kind of treasure had been unearthed. The majority of the people from the Pill Emperor City were peerless experts from the higher planes. Facing a treasure, how could they not do anything? You guys enjoy it, I'll make a move first. Lu Chuanji smiled at Ningyu, then tore the void and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Although Lu Chuanji tore the void and left in front of Ningyu and the rest were clear that Lu Chuanji did not really leave. Reaching Lu Chuanji's realm, he would most likely hide in Half-Cloud Mountain to watch the show. Where can we hide in Half-Cloud Mountain? Ningyu retracted his gaze, turned to stare at Elder Tianji and said, "We must move there as soon as possible. Otherwise, when the people from the Pill Emperor City come, we'll all be finished." "I know a place, but—" Elder Tianji moved his lips and said hesitantly. "Speak," Ningyu said in a low voice. "That place is very strange. None of the people who went in came out," Elder Tianji said solemnly. "Lead the way." Ningyu's eyes were cold, and he said in an unquestionable tone. At this time, how could he still care so much? Not leaving, only death awaited. Leaving, there was still a chance of survival. Others went to that place and could not come out, but it did not mean that they could not come out. After all, in this group of people, some knew divination, some were powerful, and there was even the existence of the World Tree. All right. Elder Tianji nodded helplessly, then his figure flashed, leading the way in front. Swish, swish, swish. Under Elder Tianji's lead, Ningyu and the rest flew all the way, finally arriving in front of a cave after 10 minutes. Wu Hing Cave. Looking at the 3 blood-red words carved on the top of the cave, Ningyu frowned and muttered. "What?" Hearing Ningyu's words, Elder Tianji jumped up on the spot, looking at Ningyu like he was looking at a monster, and said in horror, "You can see those 3 words? Why can't I see it?" Ningyu frowned again, asking doubtfully, "Wu Hing Cave? I can see it too, what's there to be surprised about?" You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.